You are listening to Witch of Wealth and Ruin, Book 2 of the Tidecaller Chronicles, by Levi Jacobs. Read for you by Kelvin Myers. One. Salt water slaps the side of the mother's blessing. Sea wind sharp and heavy with an approaching storm. I lean from the railing, letting the gusts take hair that's grown to finger length, gazing at the port city of Tenerife. I long to be with my shipmates, walking the city's winding streets and tasting its fiery foods. I remember talking about it with Gaxna, some sweltering serene night while we shared a clove leaf on the roof and gazed at the lights of Bomani across the strait. She was sure the markets would be easier to work, and kept going on about how many sticks of smoke tea she was going to steal. I just loved the idea of being alone together. I smile, remembering. Her calloused fingers had been twined with mine, and I felt a peace down in my bones, deeper than meditation had ever gone. I wondered then if I shouldn't just leave my father and the floods and everything behind and run away with her. It's a bitter thought now. I knowingly put her in danger instead, and now she's locked in the pits and I can't even leave the ship while we're at port because overseers are asking for me in every town along the Bomani coast. If they find me, everything I'm trying to do will get so much harder, if I even survive it. My knuckles go white on the rail. When I hired on 4 weeks ago, I'd been planning to gather allies and make a plan, then go back and get Gaxna free. All I've actually done is run from Nerimes and his overseers. You were right, I murmur to the wind, imagining Gaxna there with me, leaning against the rail in her loose culottes. We should have just taken off. Her one eye scrunches into a smirk. Hey, you don't have to get cheeky about it. There's no answer, just me and my thoughts and the wind on the waves. I exhale, seeking the clarity that used to come so easily. That clear stream state of mind and body I trained for in the temple that might give me some perspective on what to do. It doesn't come. Instead, my mind churns like the harbor's silty water. I hate this. Hate not being in control of myself. But even more so, I hate that I don't have a plan, that Gaxna is locked up and the world's gonna end and I'm too busy running to do anything about it. Spray flies as a wave slams into the anchored bow, and I jerk my hands back. My ancestors are in that water, living on in the embrace of the ocean, but facing them means facing my own failure. I've started avoiding the salt water and the brief flashes of connection it gives. It's still too painful. The water drops and I lean out again, searching for that inner calm. The city calls to me across the dark harbor, the dock hands and tea houses that could give me news on what's happening in Surrey. As long as I'm stuck on board, I have no way to gather information other than what my shipmates tell me, and I have to be careful not to tip them off to who I am. The wind gusts and I roll my shoulders. Maybe I'm doing this all wrong. Maybe I should go into the town and attack whatever overseers I find and force the information out of them or die trying. Do something. But if I'm going to do that, I might as well sail back to Surrey and fight Nerimes head on, even though I know it would be suicide. It'd feel better than this. Another breaker rolls in, and I'm too caught in my thoughts to pull back in time. Ocean water slops over my hand, bringing a ghost image of Reggiana and an echo of her voice. We can help. My heart seizes. Not because of the reprimand in her tone, or even the guilt that wells up at this wise woman dead because of me, but from the shock of connection. I grew up in the temple's waters, used to constant communion with the people around me, even if most of them hated me for who I was. After I left, I had Gaxna. Staying dry has felt so lonely. The image fades with the water running off my fingers, but something of it sticks to me. We can help. I feel the waters churn anew in my belly, frustration and guilt and now loneliness, pushing against my resistance to entering the sea, my resistance to involving these people again, whom I already failed once. But between that and spending another month swabbing decks feeling frustrated and helpless, maybe it's time to face my mistakes. I climb onto the deck's swaying rail, feeling no less desperate than the last time I leapt into an immersion unprepared, when Narimes was about to kill me. I jump. The storm wind rushes past me, replaced as I hit by the peace of the warm, silty water and the harbor's steady current. It draws me down, deeper, my water sight already sensing the presence of others here. "You've been avoiding us," a voice comes from behind me. I turn to see Reggiana, former head of the Therakins Guild, white hair floating around her in a pale cloud. Dead because of me. "Don't be a fool," she snaps. "I'm dead because that hookworm Miara fooled all of us and turned the girls against me. Besides, I knew the risks going in. Don't try to take that from me." I clear my throat, though it comes out very strange underwater. I know she's right, but knowing doesn't change how it feels. "You said you could help me?" "A little clarity would help you," a second voice says, though Reggiana's mouth moves in time to the words. Urte swims up from the other side, and my heart swells at the sight of his bluff, worn face, till I remember I got him killed too. "I know," I say, sea salty on my tongue. It's been hard." "Every seer will suffer if they keep themselves away after an immersion. The ocean is in your blood now, Alethea. You cannot keep it out." "As you cannot keep us out," my father says, rising from the depths between Urte and Reggiana. "We are your ancestors, Alethea, blood and spirit. The voice of Ujay until you join us down here." It's only been 4 weeks since I saw him in the waters, and already he sounds less like my dad, the stern and distant man fading into something older and deeper, like my mother has. The universal voice behind all of them. That makes it a little easier, even if I feel my second chance to know him, here in his afterlife, slipping away too. "I won't keep you out," I say, and I mean it. Hard as it is to face them, this is also the most alive I've felt since I left Gaxna's side. I promise, and I'm still planning to do something about the flood. "You have your lover to save first," my mother mouths, though the voice comes from all around me. "That is good. Duty alone cannot drive you enough to do what needs to be done." But that's the problem. I don't even know where to start. Even with your help, I look at Reggiana and Urte, though there is a siltiness to them now. We couldn't do it. Now I can't even gather information without risking my life, and our whole mission with it. "Information is something we have," their voices say. "More lives come to us every day, and they bring news of the world, of growing oppression in Surrey by Narimes and Miara. Some of those who join us have been killed to ensure their silence." "And Gaxna?" I ask. I know she's only one person, but I cannot keep the question from my lips. "Some of those dead have seen her locked in the temple," the voices say. "That is all we know. If she were dead, you would feel it in your blood." I nod, wanting to feel reassured, but feeling that old weight settling on my shoulders again. It's good to see them, but this is not information I can use. Not allies I can take with me when I storm into Surrey to bring them all down. Or even a clue on where to start with stopping the coming flood. "Start with the Chronicles," they say, fading backward into the water. "They hold all the keys you need to find the truth. Study them." "Wait," I call. "How do I get them? Who can help me? You must know something else." In desperation, I push my thoughts out at their retreating figures. My father struggles back, the features of his face drawing clearer, though it seems to cost him something. "There is one memory I have, of my papers. I had a copy made near the end. My notes on the Chronicles. They hold my thoughts," he grimaces. "I cannot remember them now. Everything is growing hazy. But there is a woman." He breaks off, head turning toward the shore. I feel it too, a new mind in the water. All its thoughts are hidden behind a water blind, which can only mean one thing. Overseer. He must have been listening on the shore. Floods. I brace myself for a fight, but feel a push back from the ancestors. Remember our principles, they say, outlines just visible in the shifting green light. My father is among them again. He is not your enemy. You did well that last day in Saray to battle the hearts rather than the bodies of your foes. In this way will you make allies. Right. I also have a much better chance of winning if it doesn't come down to real blows. Brother, I think, pulling my blind down and pushing my thoughts into the water, I pray you do not come to me with ill intent. His blind is as solid as mine, but the lack of answer is answer enough. The shadow of his form appears above me, swimming along the surface. I kick deeper, hoping he won't see me. You were there the day Narimes tried to kill me, I go on. The blade in his hand catches the sunlight as he pauses directly overhead. Or you heard of what happened there. My cause is just. Please. I restage memories of the evidence I found against Narimes, not shying away from the conversations I had with the Thericans. The proofs I uncovered are damning, no matter what you think of the female order of Ujaism. He drops his blind just for a moment, long enough to say, I have my orders. Please come peacefully. He dives down, blade clenched in his teeth. Your orders come from a usurper, I send back, swimming further down, my breath still held somehow in the immersion spell. My feet brush sand. I cannot honor them. Please. Consider the recent deaths in the temple. The ancestors themselves have told me Narimes is behind them. I restage the conversation I just had, focusing on the news they shared. Ujay let this convince him. I am half his size, and my concentration a shambles. He slows in his descent. That cannot be. I take it as a hopeful sign that he leaves his blind down. The thoughts behind it swirl, confused. In them, I read the confirmation of his own hunch that something has been wrong with Narimes from the start. The immersion ancestors wouldn't lie. They're the voice of Ujay. You know this, brother. Surely you can feel them. They watch us even now. The thoughts swirl another moment in his mind, then coalesce in a decision, though I see the pain it causes him. I will need to meditate on this. Please excuse me, sister. Wait, I call, reaching out a hand, though I don't know if he can see me down this far. What news of Saray before you go? What has the usurper told our foreign agents about me, and what were his orders? He pauses, but instead of the answer coming in his thoughts, or at least in the flitting schools of notion and memory I read in his unblinded mind, there's only blankness. My stomach clenches. I know that blankness. I read it before in a man named Arayim, and in another overseer who tried to kill me. It is the blankness of a blood push, which means a Thericant is in control of his body now. Miara, most likely. So much for winning without a fight. The shadow above me kicks downward. I swim toward a low forest of kelp on the far side of the ship's hull. I try not to think about my last battle against a blood-pushed overseer. I lost it. He swims after, frighteningly fast, blade clenched in his teeth. I push into the waving stands of kelp, keeping low, hoping to lose him, but a hand closes on my ankle. The complete absence of consciousness I read through it is awful. I kick out with my other foot on instinct and feel something snap under my heel, the sound amplified through the water. His nose. Good. The hand jerks open and I wriggle away, deeper into the kelp bed. If this were the Blackwater, goatfish would already be on him, drawn by the scent of blood. But I don't know what predators swim these waters, and I can't rely on them. He catches me again, grips solid as a vice on my calf, and my kick bounces off a muscled shoulder. A second hand grabs that thigh, pulling me in, then the first one lets go to grab his knife. I buck like a caged otter, but the angle is too awkward to do more than strike glancing blows, so I curl in and grab for the knife. The shifting sunlight shows nothing to grab but the blade flashing down toward me. I twist out of the way instead, searching desperately for a solution, a lesser-used stance or something my water ancestors could do, but nothing comes to me. He stabs again, and this time I manage to at least catch his wrist in my 2 hands, then twist it into a version of coral bind. It's awkward, but his arm still comes close enough to breaking that he drops the knife. It slips down into the murk of the kelp bed, and I relax a little. No getting that back, and killing me will be a lot harder down here without that. Aside from the risk of drowning, it's actually hard to throw a punch or get leverage underwater. He seizes my neck in Kraken's embrace, and though my blood pounds, I do not feel the usual panic of constricted airflow. I guess the immersion is still handling my need to breathe. I grin, despite the overseer trying to choke the life out of me. He does not have the same advantage as a bloodborne, which means all I have to do is stay down here long enough and he'll have to go up for air. Then I escape. I try Feather shifts the river's course, but his hold is like iron. Still, his lungs hitch where his body is pressed against mine. How long have we been under already? A minute? 2 minutes? He must realize the danger, or whoever is controlling him, because his arms loosen suddenly. Only instead of kicking for the surface, he tries gut the fish, a paralyzing move forbidden in the temple, to be used only in desperation. Only the resistance of the water saves me from a broken spine. I use the momentum to kick away, neck screaming, sure he'll give up now. He follows, body arrowing through the water despite his purpling face, and seizes my leg in 2 hands. I know the move, Thunder's Echo, the second stance in the first-year form. Simple, but all the more effective for it. I have to stop and spin to keep his twist from shattering my leg. He pulls me closer as I do, wide eyes shot with red in the water's hazy light. His chest bucks now, his arms jerking even as he tries a second Thunder's Echo, this one guaranteed to dislocate my hip. Then his mouth jerks open, sucking in water, and his movements go erratic as the life leaves his eyes. I stare, fear for my own safety fading at the horror of what Miara just did. She killed him on the off chance he could take me out down here, instead of sending him up for a gulp of air. She's an awful woman. My own lungs start to burn, but I don't want to leave him down here. He could have been an ally if the Thericans hadn't taken his blood. I pull him behind me, a dead weight as I kick for the surface. On the way, I remember what my father had started to say before we heard the overseer. Push my mind out into the water, though my burning lungs surely mean the vision is over. I don't know if I can bring it back. Father, I call, or Urte, anyone. Ujay, you were going to say something about a woman and a copy of your notes on the Immersion Chronicles. I need to know what that was. Anything you can tell me, please. Silence as the shimmering surface approaches, then just the echo of a thought in my father's voice. Hiana Kagdan, an ally. You will find her in Duran. She has my chronicles. Chapter 2. Duran is foul. I've been here 3 days, and I'm still not used to the gilded silk palanquins gliding past crowds of downtrodden workers, impossibly beautiful faces gazing from behind gauzy curtains. From my seat on the balcony of Café Myrta, I can see the city's famed towers, rising glittering to impossible heights, while mud-brick shantytowns climb the steep slopes beyond. You can smell the inequality. Under the heady perfumes and incense drifting from market stalls is the common stink of unwashed bodies and human waste. It's probably why the rich burn incense in the first place. It sure isn't to any god other than money. I wonder what Gaxna would think, if she would love this place for its opulence or hate it for its greed, like I'm starting to. I smile, sipping my sickly sweet cup of tea. She'd probably do both, and start stealing from the richest to give to the urchins on the street. I'm waiting for Hiana Kagdan, the woman my father named at the end of my last immersion. It's taken 3 days just to get an audience with her, after the 11 days sailing here on a Bamani rig. and my stomach churns with everything that rides on this. Not just the Chronicles, but my father's copy, with his notes on what he thought they meant. And not just an ally, but a wealthy one, if her alliance will transfer to me. Someone with the means to hire a mercenary army to take back Saray if it comes to that. She could be the key to all my plans, and if she doesn't want to help, I've wasted 2 weeks trying. I ice the churn inside, my internal focus back now that I have a plan, and watch the street through the balcony's carved sandstone lattice. An azure palanquin sweeps up 300 breaths later, and black liveried porters swarm around it. I stand and watch as its occupant ascends the stairs, face radiating beauty and health. That's what wealth does in Duran. It gives its owners more life. Vitality, they call it. A power running through their currency that makes them stronger, faster, more beautiful, and longer-lived. The wealthiest people here have been alive for centuries, they say. Amaranths. Apparently Hiana isn't one yet, but the way heads turn and people scoot out of her path, she must be close. I brace myself as she glides through the packed cafe. I've always been awful at words, and all my hopes hinge on convincing this stranger to help me from the goodness of her heart. If only this were a fight, or we were standing in a proper pool of water so I could read her thoughts. Instead, I send a silent prayer to Ujay. If my cause is just, if you really do care about saving your people, let this woman help me. Alethea, she says, and even her voice is rich and lustrous, like a minstrel moments from song. Necklaces of coins layer her neck, the air warping around them like burning coals. It seems bold to wear so much money, but all the wealthy here do it. Kagdanjo, I say, using the Darnese form of respect. You speak Ujjayan? Dara and Ujjayan are somewhere between dialects and related languages. Trainer Yemla at the temple would be ashamed of me for forgetting which, but I'll feel more comfortable here speaking my own tongue. Of course, she says in that rich alto. I spent years in your city. That's where I met your father, around the time he was coming into power. I'm sorry to meet you under such unfortunate circumstances. She doesn't sound it, but maybe that's just the vitality beaming from her voice. He's in the waters now, I say, as much because I don't know how to respond to pity as because it's the actual truth. He's how I heard you were here, actually. Hiana raises an eyebrow. So the rumors are true. A girl with male magic. Such blasphemy for an Ujjayan. Though, you won't find too many offended here. Money mends all things, as they say. Shall we sit? I realize I'm still standing here like an oaf and nod. She sits with the grace of a dancer, and I follow suit. One of her attendants swoops in to pour her mint tea from a fresh pot, then refills mine, sweetened with copious amounts of date sugar in the local style. How did you know my father, I ask. It's blunt, but like I said, I'm bad at words, and this is the only thing I can count on here, is her having enough of a connection to my father to want to help me. Initially, it was purely for business. The temple can make or break any trade endeavor in Saray. But then I found him intriguing. A driven man. Driven enough to ignore his own daughter. I am over the pain of that now, but behind it has come a sadness that I will never know him, that even now he's losing focus in the water, that this woman might have known my father better than I ever will. And you met Narimes too? A shadow falls across her perfect face. Unfortunately, yes. The reports from your attack on his wedding were mixed, of course, but I gather that you hold him responsible for Sturgjon's death? He is responsible. I can show you proof if you want. I reach my hand across the polished table. Hers is gloved, but still she snatches it back in the first move from her that hasn't looked practiced and perfect. That won't be necessary. I can believe it of him, based on the man I met back then. Even as a junior council member, Narimes was unpleasant. That, and I trust you. A knot loosens in my shoulders, and I realize how long it's been since I've had anyone I could trust. Not that I trust her, but I've carried this weight alone for a long time. I ice the emotion, picturing it as water freezing into a giant block, then set it aside to deal with later. On my side or not, this is not the time to break down crying. He's worse than unpleasant, I say, voice steady again. He's perverting the temple and the city for his own gain, selling it to a Salem Dale woman to get himself in power, and he sent overseers to kill me because I tried to expose him. Hiana nods. What went wrong? He had allies I didn't expect, I say, not bothering to ice my anger. You heard the head of the Theracans Guild was killed? She raises one perfect eyebrow. That was his doing too? His ally, yes, Miara. She sips at her tea. So you're dealing with the combined might of the seers and the Theracans. Not just that. Narimes is no ordinary seer, and neither is Miara. They have powers they shouldn't. What powers, she asks, the afternoon sun casting bands of light and dark across her face through the lattice wall. The ability to let only certain information through a blind, or for Miara to disappear from her sister's blood connection, things seers and Theracans swear are impossible. Almost like they have your vitality magic or some other hidden power. I was hoping you might know something about it. Your father's papers, you mean? She looks as though she expected this. Maybe he left instructions about me, like he did with the Theracans. Yes. Do you have them? Unbidden, my hand goes to my chest, where I keep my father's letter. His words there echo what the ancestors told me in the water, that the Chronicles are key to defeating Narimes and stopping the floods. Having his own annotated version would save me years of study. Years we might not have. Hiana tugs at a diamond pendant hanging from one ear. In addition to the coins around her neck, the woman is decked in jewels. Unfortunately, I do not. I suck in a breath. This was the one thing I was counting on, that even if Hiana didn't want to help me, she'd have the Chronicles, have the information I need to make a plan. Do you know where they are? Hiana sets her cup down with a clink. I may, but let's cut to the chase. I am a busy woman, and I believe you are a straightforward girl as well. You're here for my help in avenging your father and taking back your city. Yes, I am. Good. That is something I'm willing to do, given certain assurances. I viciously ice the relief that spreads in my chest, coming from the same place as that ache about doing this all alone. As good as this sounds, I still don't know if I can trust her, father's ally or not. What assurances? A black liveried waiter arrives just then, carrying with him one of the tall smoking devices I've seen around the cafe. It is a beautiful curved vase with water in the bottom and a woven hose coming from one side, extending down into the water. I wait impatiently while he fusses with placing the clove leaf and coals just so in the top of it, glancing at Hiana. Meanwhile, she gazes placidly, and my question hangs in the air like a guillotine. He finally leaves. Tell me, Hiana says, taking up the ornate wooden mouthpiece and drawing in smoke. Do you have ambitions, Alethea? It's not the answer I'm expecting. I want to defeat Narimes. She blows smoke, smelling of clove, but something sweeter as well. Jasmine? And do you want it with all your heart? The thing that I want with all my heart is to get Gaxna free, but Narimes is a part of that. Yes. Good. I have been paying attention to your city for some time now, even before Narimes' rise to power and the events at his wedding. Saray has so much potential, but its divisions hold it back. She proffers the smoking tube to me and I take it, seeking a moment's connection with her hand to read her thoughts, but her glove prevents it. Here, we settle our disputes in council, she goes on, with the Amaranthine presiding, and all of us with status able to say our part. It isn't ideal, I know, to base political power on wealth, but at least we all sit at a common table. This tribalism, this split between man and woman, has held your city back for centuries. What are you proposing? I don't add that I agree wholeheartedly. I still haven't heard what kind of assurances she's looking for. I am proposing they be united. And you're the one to do it? I'm the one to make it happen. You are the one to unite them. A female seer, child of the rightful chosen of Ujjayi, friend of the Theracants. Too many emotions stir in my chest at this. Of course I want to unite my city, and the tribalism is stupid. But I can't help feeling she's selling this all to me, rather than just agreeing. And if she is, I need to know the cost before I buy in. Speaking plainly, I say, what would you want to get out of it? Position. Influence. Saray is a hub of trade even more than Duran, especially with the increase in Salem Dale activity. If I ever want to become an Amaranth, I need an edge the others don't have. It would all be behind the scenes, of course. There are methods we could adopt for legal assurance. I search for words, wishing I had Gaxna's quick tongue. It sounds great, but there are people better suited for this, and I'm not trying to rule Saray. Her lips quirk. Ambition indeed. What are you trying to do? I hand the smoking tube back, needing to keep my mind clear. Did you read the papers my father gave you? Ah, she says, drawing deeply and exhaling a fragrant cloud. The flood. The end of all times, and coming sooner than anyone thinks. I sit forward. You know about it? And you believe it? I do, for what it's worth. Which is part of why I'm willing to risk so much on you. All this, she gestures at the bustling cafe, the city beyond the latticework wall. All this is temporary. We know Duran's 7 towers were built long before any people naming themselves Daranese lived here. For all our wealth and pride, we're just little creatures huddling in the ruins of a civilization 10 times our betters, and even they didn't survive. If another flood is coming, and your father convinced me it is, then we have to be ready. I get that same feeling again, that relief that someone else knows. So, you're with me? You want to stop it too? I do. And this is the best way to do it. Consider how much more power you will have to do whatever needs to be done as ruler of all Saray. What better position could there be? Jay, but I wish I could read her thoughts. I reach for the smoking tube and she again evades my touch, albeit with grace. That's the problem, I say. I don't know what needs to be done. I know it's coming. I saw that in the water. And I know my dad saw some hint of a way out in the Chronicles, but I have no idea what that is. Maybe I could get it done as Queen of Saray or whatever we'd call me. Or maybe I'd have to sail off the edge of Vina, or go on a quest through Bamani, or... Until I see the Chronicles, there's no way to know. Yana sighs. I wish I could give them to you, but we will likely have to take Saray first. From that position, we should be able to get most anything we'd want. But you said you knew where they were? Her face goes sour for a moment. I do, though it'll do you no good. The Tower of Many Names. She nods at one of the sky-piercing towers beyond the latticework, this one wrapped in vibrant cloth banners that stream behind it in the wind, giving it an undulating appearance. I frown. An Amaranth stole them from you? An Amaranthic name, yes. Her face darkens. Whoever or whatever it is that Narimes and Miara belong to, we have it in Duran too. And I believe they heard clink somehow of what I had. The papers were stolen from me months ago, and only in the last few weeks have I become certain that they were the ones to take it. Not that it does us any good. What do you mean? I mean there is no way to get in there and get out alive. Trust me, I have the best spies and assassins in Duran at my service, and they have all refused. Have you tried thieves? I was trained as one in Saray. My leg starts to bounce. This is something I can do, something concrete after 6 weeks of powerlessness and frustration. Plus, Gaxna taught me well. I've snuck into the palaces of the wealthiest merchants in Saray and dropped unseen into the middle of Narimes' wedding ceremony. It's not just the tower, Hiana says, raising a hand as if to placate me. The guards up there are loaded with vitality. You would be captured, or worse. I hold back the retort that no one in the world fights like Ujayan monks, vitality or not. I'll look into it, I say instead. There may be strategies or forms to use to counteract their advantage. There is another way, she says, looking pained. It would cost me politically, but if those papers are so important to you, I may be able to get them through back channels. Coffers know there are plenty in this city who owe me favors. I hesitate. It's not a bad idea, but something in me says she is trying to dissuade me from stealing the papers directly. That she wants to be the one to get them for me, so I owe her something. So I agree to her plans to take back Saray. Which, father's ally or not, doesn't sit right with me. More importantly, what she's talking about could take days or weeks. This has already taken too long. But there's no need to say any of that. That would be great, I say. If you'll look into it, I'll do more checking on the tower. And thank you, Kogdunjo. Can you meet again in 3 days? Enough time for me to get the papers on my own, if it looks doable. My pleasure, Alethea, she says, standing. In 3 days, then. Three. I wait until daybreak. This is something Gaxna taught me. Merchants and guards expect thefts at night, so they increase numbers and stay vigilant. When the sun rises, they think the danger is past, and guards who've been up all night relax and maybe take a few minutes to rest their eyes. As the rhythmic scrape of footsteps above me recedes, I scuttle up the last few feet of sandstone wall, slip across the catwalk, and drop to the far side. There are other advantages to daybreak, too. While it seems light after the darkness, details are still hard to see, and the angle of the sun turns everything into silhouettes. The tower grounds are full of them. The lumpy forms of manicured bushes, the reaching fronds of date trees, and the still-life figures of marble statues. Perfect places to hide, for me or the guards. I did my research on vitality. It will make the guards stronger and faster, but if I can surprise the first one, I should be able to take his or her coins and use their power to my advantage. Would Gaxna approve? No, probably not. But she was never the fighter on our team, and life is already dangerous enough with overseers looking for me. It's time to take some chances. Still, I stretch out my senses in the manicured courtyard, listening for disturbances in the patter of the fountains or the gentle rustle of leaves in the ocean breeze. The air smells of desert flowers and stale incense. I keep a hand to the worked sandstone wall to feel for anything my other senses miss. I wish to Ujay the ground was moist, or the air damp, anything to give my water sight a chance to read the other minds here. But Duran is as dry as Saray is wet. No alarms sound. I run for the Tower of Many Names, its bulk massive and alien in the red light of dawn. 4 steel pillars climb from separate corners of the courtyard to the cupola high above, with a thick vertical shaft running down the middle. That's the lift, a route I might attempt if I was in Saray, but I am a foreigner here, in appearance as well as speech, and the disguises Gaxna taught me would do little good. I aim for the nearest support pillar instead. As thick as a wine barrel and built entirely of polished steel, its angle and the lack of handholds would make it difficult to climb under normal conditions. But the Dura, fearful of assassins rather than thieves, I'm told, have lined the bottom third of each with razor-sharp glass. I can just imagine Gaxna smirking. "Handholds," she'd say. Ujay, I wish she was here now. We were a team for all the big heists. I can do this, but I'd do it better with her here. I wait until a third guard passes, then scramble up. My hands are awkward, encumbered in 3 layers of leather gloves, but my booted feet find good purchase, propelling me rapidly up the pillar. I arch my back as I go. Even a minor cut now would slow me down too much. I scoot past the eye level of the guards on the tower, then slow to take more care as a shard rips through my sleeve. My boots and gloves are beginning to shred by the time I clear the broken glass. I pause here, courtyard already looking like a sculptor's miniature below, and pull them off. The boots I tie to the pillar. I won't need them again, and I can't risk someone seeing them fall. But the gloves I stuff into the pack strapped to my back, retying it awkwardly while I cling to the metal tube. Above me stretches another 100 paces of bare steel pillar before the top, angling slightly more vertical as it climbs. This is the stretch I am most worried about. Finding the Chronicles inside the massive cupola will be hard, and the vital guards will be a challenge, but make a slip here and the fall's guaranteed to cripple me. By the time I get to the top, it will kill me. I take a minute to steady my breath, then pull the other set of gloves from my pouch, these thin and dipped in rubber. I could get better ones in Surrey, but I was happy to find this quality in a new city. I tie a pair of rubber-coated straps to my bare feet and start climbing. I move fast. The sun will heat this metal to blazing hot by mid-morning, and even without the heat, the rubber will start to pull off. I fall into a rhythm, grip with my legs, reach with my arms, jerk my body up, then grip again, reach again, jerk again. My arms burn, but I've kept in shape on the Perler ship, swabbing decks, hauling cargo, and clambering up and down the rigging. My heart races, but it's more with the knowledge that I am back on track, that I have a plan again, that I'm finally doing something. I may even have an ally here if I can reach an agreement with Hyana. A foot slips and my heart leaps into my throat. My legs swing out over empty space, and I lock my arms in a death grip around the pillar until I can swing my feet back and get a grip again. Ujay. I am high enough to die now. Is it strange that my first thought was Gaxna dying in prison rather than me dying down there in the courtyard? Heart still pounding, I gauge the distance to the top. More than halfway there, but still too far to throw my rope. I think about just climbing down for a second, taking Hyana's offer to get the Chronicles, even if it puts me in debt to her. Better to survive than die up here trying to do it my way. Then the view catches my eye, past the buildings of Duran to the ocean that sits beyond the island's steep ridges. Surrey lies that way. Surrey and Gaxna, who even now is a prisoner to the man who killed my father. No, I mutter under my breath. Focus, Alethea. You can do this. I make it to the bottom of the cupola before the sun is more than a few fingers above the horizon, and cling there while I uncoil the rope from my waist. The tower's architecture is unreal, support pillar meeting the round swell of the cupola with barely a seam. It's amazing they even bother with the guards and glass down below. There are not many people who could make it this high, let alone try getting up the underside of the round cupola. I certainly wouldn't have a year ago. Then I met Gaxna, who would likely already be up there and tucking the Chronicles in her culottes by now. Show off. I let go of the pillar with one arm, intentionally not looking at the fall, and uncoil the rope from my waist. It's no thief's rope, but it's thin and light and will carry my weight. I play it out, then sling it up and around, seeking purchase on one of the screened windows above. It clangs off the steel and falls back down, weight of the hook on the end trying to tug me off my perch. This is the most dangerous part of the job. If anyone hears that clang and decides it's more than an unlucky bird banging into the tower, I'm dead. The next throw catches and my stomach unclenches. I chose this spot carefully, not only because the support pillar comes down close to the wall below, but because it ends up here below a few likely windows. I tug on it a few times, then take a deep breath. This is the second most dangerous part of my plan, trusting my weight to a grip I can't see. I release the pillar slowly, leaning more and more of my mass into the rope. It holds. I clamber up, and the curve of the cupola swings me away from the pillar into thin air. Anxiety claws at me and I ice it, stack it next to the massive pile I've already made this morning, then return to my steady breathing. The breath is my anchor, the ocean my blood. The hook has torn a convenient rent in the window's delicate metalwork screen at the top. I push through it and breathe a sigh of relief to stand on solid ground again. I'm in what appears to be a smoking lounge, a collection of water pipes scattered amidst cushions and low tables. Shelves of glass bottles line the walls, and the air is fragrant with the scent of clove and rose and all kinds of herbs. This is how you spend your days, apparently, if you're so rich you can't die, smoking clove leaf at the top of ancient towers. I reset the hook against the sill, then pull the remaining rope on the floor, ready to throw out. This was another of Gaxna's first rules of thievery. Always plan your exits. Satisfied, I creep to the door and focus on my senses. I hear nothing, but I smell fresh flatbread and overbrewed tea. Someone is awake then, if only the servants, and despite the tower's natural defenses, I don't doubt there are guards up here too. Vital guards. I push the door open, thanking Uj for quiet hinges. A hallway curves away in both directions, following the shape of the cupola. This is where Hyana's information ran out. While she knew the general layout of the rooms here, she had no idea where the Chronicles would be. But she's not my only source of information. I stalk out on my toes, slipping to the interior side of the hallway, ornately carved teak latticework in place of a wall. Beyond it is a circular sandy courtyard spotted with daybeds and manicured palms. Above it, the cupola is open to the sky, another 20 paces overhead. I scan the space as though I expect to see the Chronicles framed on a pillar in the middle, then kick myself, trying not to imagine what Gaxna would say. If the Chronicles are here, and the owners went to the trouble of stealing them from Hyana, they will not be so obvious. Besides, I have more immediate concerns, the kind Gaxna wouldn't be good at. I peer through the latticework to the far side of the courtyard, where the angle allows me to see the hallway there. 2 guards stand outside what are likely bedrooms, or wherever the Amaranth and his mistress are taking breakfast. 2 guards, but they're far enough away that if I'm lucky... I try the nearest doors. A bath, a bedroom, a prayer hall. No Chronicles, and the nearer guard will be able to see me if I try any more doors. Nothing for it then. Time to see what vitality can really do. I dash around the curve with arms extended for ice fingers rising. The man's head nods, half asleep. I deliver the blow perfectly, ready to catch him so he doesn't crash to the ground. Only he doesn't fall. A blow that is designed to knock anyone unconscious only sways him on his feet. Vitality. Bracers of coins around his neck shimmer with power. I follow up with diver's bind, pressing my fingers to the 3 points in his face. Guaranteed to knock anyone out, but more time-consuming than ice fingers. And in that muddled moment where he should already be dead to the world, he lands a blow to my sternum hard enough to sink me to my knees, gasping. Okay, he's strong. Impossibly strong. But strength is only a tool, as Urte used to say, not a win condition. I catch my breath, duck a second blow, and wrap legs around him in Kraken's kiss. I jam my fingers back into diver's bind, squeezing with all my might to keep his arms trapped. I hold him, despite his strength, but he cries out, alerting the other guards. I mutter a prayer to Uj that the bind works before they get here. As his struggles weaken, I make use of our skin contact to read his thoughts, confirming there's only one other guard up here. Good. I can manage that. Now for the Chronicles. His knees buckle and I ride him down, pushing thoughts of the Immersion Chronicles and my father's handwriting into him, trying to spur memories of the book. The other guard pounds around the bend, but before I leap off I read a vague memory of a cackling man and see a curving room full of books. A library. I need to find a library. I rip his coins off and run back the way I came. If the second guard has the strength of the first, I'm going to need them to make up for the loss of surprise. I don't feel any different with the coins on, but who knows how this city's magic works. Fortunately, it's not the only advantage I have over him. I duck into the bath and come out with a pail of water, then sling it at the guard as he rounds the bend. It surprises him enough to slow, and I dart in with thunder shakes the rooftop, pushing my mind into the running water as I do. I read his thoughts just before his sword flickers out. It's almost too fast to see, but the mind is always faster. I have time to fall right, then jerk left as I read his next move through the wetness of the floor. I roll up and out of the pool of spreading water. Either the coins aren't working, or this guard is more vital than the last. He rushes in, and I sidestep back onto the wet floor. His sword rips through a section of the fine wood lattice, and I find his weakness. He's a swordsman. I grab the bucket and back up, twisting as though to sling it at him. He grins and darts forward, likely reading me as desperate. Instead, I shove the bucket between me and his sword. His chop rams it out of my hands, burying the wide-bladed weapon deep in the grain of the wood. Every advantage breeds weakness, Trainer Urte used to say. Being smaller and less strong my whole life, I've learned to look for those weaknesses. This man's is his reliance on the sword. His mind is raw panic as he tries to free it from the wet wood. I attack in sleeting rain stance, all jabs and chops and strikes for sensitive areas. His speed and strength hold me off for a few blows, but eventually I land a punishing kick to his left ear, then put him out of his misery with diver's bind. I get up and take a deep breath, looping his necklaces over the ones I have. I'm not out of trouble yet. The water tells me it took him so long to come because he called for backup, which will be coming up the lift shaft now. But I don't need much time. I sprint the rest of the circle, checking doors till I find the long, curving library in the first guard's memories. I close myself inside and spin, heart beating. The walls are lined with books, air musty with vellum and ink. It's a library any university would be proud of, but I don't need a library right now. I just need one book. Think, Alethea, I mutter, even as I feel a shudder through the floor. Probably the lift on its way up the tower's central shaft. I need to be gone when they get here. What would it look like? The Chronicles would be written in Ujayan script, for one thing, similar to Darani's characters but distinct, less flowing. A quick scan finds me a section of Ujayan bindings, but there are still too many to possibly check every one. What else, I mutter, scanning the first few shelves, though I know there's no time for that. The binding itself. The books are in all colors of dyed skin and parchment, but the temple uses a distinct salt cure, and Father's copy of the Chronicles would be temple-made. That narrows it down quickly, and in another few heartbeats I find it, collected Chronicles of the Immersion written down the side in the same careful monastic script I was taught as a child. I open it to find calligraphic text, with my father's narrow-looped handwriting filling the margins. May indicate that their craftology has made more accurate measurements of the next deluge. My heart catches in my throat. Here it is, the thing that consumed my father the last 7 years of his life. The reason he ignored me, but his hopes too for trying to save us from the flood. Another connection to him, and in his true voice, not the one slowly fading in the waters. Shouts sound from below and I startle out of it, cursing. Flooding sentimentality. I ice everything but urgency and sprint into the hallway, pulling on my leather gloves. Just a quick drop down the rope while they're still coming up the lift. A guard steps from the next room, vitality radiating from stacks of coins around his neck. It has to be 10 times what the previous guards were wearing. More than I want to deal with. I spin, only to find another guard stepping from the baths in the far direction, similarly laden with wealth. Then a figure drops to the center of the sandy courtyard, vitality warping the air around him like the man is a live coal. He straightens, and through the distortion I see white hair framing an ageless face, with obsidian eyes that look ancient. A single black coin hangs from his neck. An amaranth. I know it even before he speaks. "So," he says, straightening, "Alethea Viola, let's have a look at you." I goggle. He knows my name? Then throw myself at the nearest guard. I know it's hopeless, but what else am I supposed to do? It's like attacking a brick wall. I slam 3, 4, 5 solid blows into him. Then the man's hand shoots out and grips my neck, lifting me from the floor, kicking like a child. He grins. "Not too rough now, Jenilyn," the Amaranth says. "You wouldn't want to damage her." The Amaranth steps closer, face beatific in vitality's glow. He peers into my eyes and clucks his tongue. "Violet, you really are Sturgjohn's daughter, aren't you?" I know better than to answer. There's nothing I can say here that will help me, though 1,000 questions burn on my tongue. How did they know? Were they spying on Hiana and I? Was she compromised somehow? He plucks the Chronicles from my grasp. "I'll be keeping these, I think. Jenilyn, Hagra, you will stand as witnesses to the theft?" They nod assent, and he turns to me. "Then as 5th Amaranth of Duran, I find you guilty of theft in the 1st degree, Alethea Viola. Your life and property are now forfeit. Do you understand that?" I understand it, though regret threatens to push something else out of my mouth. Regret and rage. I was stupid to think I could pull this off, but that is my father's book, rightfully mine. I meet his coal-black gaze. Fine, now what? Now we see just what kind of fighters you Jayans really are. "4. The guards drag me down to the lift, and after reinforcements pile out, shame burns in me that they weren't even needed. They shove me in, efficiently tying my hands as the contraption lurches. We descend into darkness, with only a single lantern above us to light the eerie metal tube passing on all sides. I should keep my shame iced, should stick with my breathing and stay sharp here, but the shock is too much. The disappointment, the utter letdown. I was so close. I had the book in my hands, my father's book, the answers I needed to get Gaxna back, to do something instead of feeling so flooding powerless like I have since I lost her. My shoulders shake and I realize I'm crying, and for a long minute there's nothing I can do about it. I'm trapped inside a metal tube with 2 guards I have no chance of defeating, apparently being taken to fight to the death for what I've done, and all I can think about is Gaxna, and my father, and the world, but especially Gaxna, locked up in a pit under the temple because of me. It would have been better if we'd never met, which only makes me cry all the harder because it's the last thing I would wish for. The lift lurches to a halt, and I hear a voice call from outside. "All safe in the tube?" "Safe and prisoner in tow," the taller guard, Jenilyn, yells. It's not much, but it's enough to stop my tears. I take a deep, shuddering breath and look around, making out a dim set of stairs in the lamplight. "Where are you taking me?" I ask. No answer. These guards have just listened to my weeping all the way down the tube, and they won't even give me an answer. Slopholes. I seize onto that anger and ice the rest. This is not how a monastic is supposed to act, not the ideal state for responding to a desperate situation, but it's the best I can do right now. "Fine," I growl. "I don't need you to talk anyway." I slam myself into the nearer one, pushing him into the wall and bringing me into contact with his bare arm. He shoves me off like a newborn kitten, but in a brief instant of contact I read my answer through our touch. An arena, filled with gladiators wearing belts of coins, littered with the blood and bodies of the fallen. Roaring crowds line the seats above, reveling in the slaughter. Entertainment. I am to die for entertainment. Flood that. If I'm going to die, I'll do it now, on my own terms. A crevice of light opens above, another guard opening the heavy gate. I sprint towards him, kicking off the wall to land a spinning heel into his neck. He stumbles back, choking, and I break out into the tower grounds, 30 paces to the wall. Something heavy slams into me, pinning me to the ground, but I'm not done yet. I slam my head back, hitting someone hard enough to see stars and earning a grunt. I try again, the rest of me immobile, but a thick palm shoves my face into the gravel. "Gentlemen," he calls, not even sounding winded. "Get the tea." A minute later they force something foul into my mouth, and the guard holds me there till my head gets fuzzy and my limbs go numb. "Good," Gentleman says, his voice echoing, and they lift my limp body into a cart. The sun goes dim. I wake to cool stone and a pinch on the cheek. "Wake up, girl," a weathered woman says, pinching me again. "Wake up. They're almost done out there and you're next." Shouts sound and I look to the side, through a barred gate to where a gang of Omani men surround a solitary fighter, his comrades lying in the dirt around him. It's the arena I saw in the guard's mind. Floods. "I can't. Thornbark should be wearing off by now," she slurs in Daranese. "You had a good sleep there. Stand up, it'll help. Here." She thrusts a staff at me, and something about the worn feel of the wood, like the practice staves we used in the temple, clears the last of the fog from my brain. I suck in a breath, taking quick stock. I am locked in here with this woman, the gate behind her barred. If what she says is true, in a few moments I'm going to have to go out there and fight. No time for questions, and I can't trust her to tell the truth anyway, but her thoughts will. I seize her wrist. The keys. How do I get out? A broad man appears in her thoughts, laden with wealth and holding a large circle of keys. No point attacking this old woman then. Panewa, her name is. "Panewa, are they going to kill me?" A roar goes up from the crowd, muddling her reply, and I glance back to see the Bomani men raising their clubs in victory. Attendants run into the ring, dragging away the bodies, and a sick feeling rises in my throat. I have never killed before, and I don't want to do it now, not this way. I was trained to fight for justice, not just survival. But if I let myself die, what happens to Gaxna, to Saray? A guard rattles the gate behind us, and Panewa nods. "It's your time. Be careful." I run out. I have no idea what they're throwing me up against. Saray criers are full of stories of the horrors of the Duran gladiator pits. But I'm at least going to choose my ground. The arena is covered in ankle-deep sand, ringed by sandstone walls 20 paces high, with steep rows of seats rising beyond them. There's no way I'm climbing out of here, and no high ground to speak of. At least they gave me a staff. It's only then that I realize I'm dressed in a Theracant's robes, or some strange mockery of them. My hand flies to my chest, where I keep my father's letter. It's gone. And that is the deepest insult of all. Above me a giant voice rings out, calling something about an Ujay witch versus the Daol menace. My match, then. I spin in a slow circle. There are gates set into the base of the wall every 5 paces or so, like the one I came from. I'm disturbed to see most of them full, muscled and scarred fighters watching me with boredom or malice. I ice a rising dread and keep circling, holding my breath steady. I've only fought one Salem Dale man, and it wasn't much of a fight, but I have no idea what to expect here. The clarity that comes with deep breathing tells me the dread is not for my own life. I should have lost it many times over by now, but for the idea of killing a stranger here, in this made-up environment, for these people's entertainment. Give me Yeolat, give me Narimes, Slops, give me one of the guards from the tower, and I'll fight. But this solitary man who steps onto the sands, wearing his own bizarre mockery of the clinging Dale garb, he's no enemy of mine. Something relaxes inside me, the same part that drove me to attack the guards back at the tower. If I'm going to die, I'll die on my own terms. Die a person Gaxna and my father would be proud of. And that means not killing an innocent person, no matter what the cost is. The Dale fighter trots towards me, and I'm surprised to see he actually has the milky eyes of the Dale. I got the sense from the last battle that, though the fighters were wearing Bamani armor, most of them were actually Daranese. This lanky man, he has the Dale height too, is the real thing. He limps, though he makes an effort to hide it, and that just cements my resolve. He raises his weapon, a ridiculous two-bladed spear I doubt came from the Dale, and yells something in a foreign tongue as he gets close. I'm not fooled. Every Dale I've met spoke some Ujayan. You're no enemy of mine, I say, grounding my staff in the sand. Let us not fight for their pleasure. We have to, he says, milky eyes confident. His right hand is missing 2 fingers. Trust me. Fight. He swings with the strange spear, and I step out of its arc. No. The crowd boos, and he swings again. Don't worry. You're slated to win this one. Win? I ice the surprise that comes up, again dodging his blow, my mind spinning through the possibilities. Is this some ploy to put me off my guard? We're not fighting to the death? Not if you play along, he growls, jabbing the spear at me dead on. You don't have any coins, right? So fight. I step aside to more boos. The announcer's voice booms across the sands, something about a healer not wanting to fight. There's a threat implied in his voice, but I've already made up my mind. Still, I don't understand everything here, and I was trained from a young age that knowledge can undo many disadvantages. Coins? What do coins have to do with this? That checks him for a moment. Are you new to the city too? Look, I'll explain everything later. For now, just fight. Trust me. That's something I've never been good at. I dodge his attack without raising my staff. He wears only a few copper ravas around his neck, so I can likely take him if it comes to that. No. Sweat beads on his forehead as he again attacks, and the boos come louder when I roll under his blade and come up untouched. I grin. To hell with them. To hell with the crowd and the Amaranth and a city that thinks that I should have to fight for their entertainment because I tried to take back what is rightfully mine. To hell with all of them. This is not the fight they came to see, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's something I can use. I grip the butt of my staff and hurl it out of the ring to a shocked silence, then outrage from above. The Dale man curses in his own tongue, and the jab that comes at me is real this time, fast enough I'm forced to jump to avoid it. That's better, he says. Keep at it. Just a couple more. He swings and I dodge, and you can take me down. Flood that. Take yourself down. Don't you get it? He growls, circling right and jabbing in again with the spear. His posture communicates it well ahead of time, and I sidestep. We have to put on a show, or they really will kill us. Look, just knock me around a couple of times, then I'll lie down in the sand and we're done. Lie down in the sand? I ask. That's all you have to do? And I'll raise my hand, he says, the sign that I'm finished. Great. I drop to the sand. The arena explodes in boos. I don't care. I raise my hand, keeping an eye on the Dale to make sure I haven't judged him wrong, and he might actually try for a killing stroke. Instead, I see him forcing a smile and doing an awkward victory dance. I smile, remembering the Amaranth's last words. Now we'll see just what kind of fighters you Jayans really are. What kind of fighter am I? I mutter to the sky. The kind that can't be pushed around. Plus, I have an ally in Duran, and a simple battle here wouldn't have made news. Hopefully this, a rare Ujayan fighter in the arena and then a total refusal to fight, will reach her ears. Rough hands grab me and drag me from the sands. If she realizes who that Ujayan fighter was, hopefully she can do something to get me out. It's a thin hope, I know, but it's better than nothing. The guard I read in the tower didn't make up the blood or the bodies in his memory. This place is real. They drag me back to the cell and toss me in, then swing the gate closed. I allow myself a moment to lay there, letting out a deep, shuddering breath. A throat clears behind me. I leap to my feet, spinning into downward cuts the tide, only to lose it in shock. Hiana? My father's ally stands calmly in the narrow cell, wrapped dress immaculate and face composed, like she regularly fills in for the arena guards. Alethea, she agrees, stacked necklaces of coins bending the air with vitality, though not so strongly as the amaranth. That was quite a fight. What are you doing here? Are you here to get me out? She chuckles at this. Get you out? I'm the one who put you in here. Five. My mind churns like a riptide. Put me in here? What do you mean? Did you intercede with the amaranth? Hardly, Hyana says. The amaranth and I are good friends. Allies even, though he doesn't understand the extent to which his actions benefit me more than himself. He's old blood, you have to understand. Classic Dura, in a time when the classics are getting outdated. I take a deep breath. So you convinced him to send me here, instead of something worse? Even as I say it, I know it's wrong. But hope is a dangerous thing, and I have pinned mine on her. I told him to do it, she says calmly. Told him you'd be coming, sent him the book so he could stock it in his library, and warned him of the kind of powers you might bring to bear. For a second, I don't know what to say. Then white-hot rage burns down my veins. You betrayed me? Please, Alethea, let's not fight here when you refuse them a show out there. And anyway, she brushes a gloved hand against the coin's radiating power on her chest. I think you know by now who would win. I almost do it anyway, despite knowing she's wearing much more than the guards who handled me like a doll. Despite the guards here that would no doubt come running, and maybe not feel compelled to leave me whole now that I spit in their face on the battlefield. Almost, but the waters rush in my mind, even as I work to still the maelstrom in my gut. Hyana betrayed me. She's not an ally, but she's here for something, which means I still have leverage. So this whole thing was a trap. I say it as much to sink the words into my mind, to help the sea change it means in my understanding of my situation. You lured me into burgling the tower, then arranged it so I'd be guilty of the highest crime in Duran, and your friend would get possession of me. I did. She rearranges her skirts, then sits on the sole seat in the corner, as if to say she's unafraid of me even here and now, knowing what I know. I hate to admit it, but she's right. There's nothing I can do to her with her vitality. But knowledge can undo disadvantages, and we still have our war of words. It's cute how shocked you are, she goes on, before I found my next move. Your father was like that too. He always expected the best in people, so much that it blinded him. You're wrong about one point, though. The Amaranth doesn't own you, however much you broke into his tower. That's not how possession works in Darani's law. I narrow my eyes. You do, because the book is still yours. Very good. Of course, I owe him a few favors now, but the sorts of things he wants are generally easy to come by. Maybe I'll even have you do some of them yourself. Outside the door to the sands, someone howls in pain. Despite myself, I turn to see an absolute beast of a man slam a club into a boy half his size, face already bloodied. The boy falls and the beast grins, spreading his arms to the crowd. They roar approval. I will do nothing for you, I say, icing my disgust. I turn back to Hyana. Not until you get me out of here. I thought I might leave you in for a while, she says lightly, adjusting a necklace of Alarium coins in a pile thick enough to be a shawl. It might make you more compliant. And what of your plan? I do you no good here. On the contrary, half of what you earn in here is mine. But you're right, it would be better to move quickly, especially with Yealat in the picture. We can't let Nerimes and his cabal secure too strong a hold on the city. The terms of our agreement will have to change, of course. What terms? You are already asking me to outright subvert our trade laws to make you an Amaranth. Yes, and I will need that. But I'd rather subvert them myself. More howls sound behind me, and I can't help but look back. The boy is down, and the big man stomps on his body to roars of approval from the crowd. Every fiber in me itches to run out and stop him. You could go out there, you know. The gate isn't locked. The crowd likes that kind of thing, the sudden upsets and fights. But there's no way you'd win against the bull. Wealth shimmers on his chest, heavy bands of coins slung across scarred muscles. I was trained to stop this kind of man, to stop Surrey from being a city where such things could happen. I clench my teeth and turn back. I have my own fight to win first. So you would be queen instead of me? No, I doubt your people would accept me. They still need to see you on the throne, or whatever office we come up with. But I will need to be the one making the actual decisions. Your royal advisor, present at every meeting and consulted on every decision. We could be wed, maybe. I'll come up with something. I ice the revulsion that rolls up in me, imagining marrying this woman, as Nerimes did Yeolat. Ice it because I need a clear head, and because if Hyana sees I have no intention of playing along, I will lose whatever slim bargaining power I have here. I take a deep breath and force out, that could work. And it could. Once the city is taken, once I have Gaxna back, and I'm installed as some kind of ruler, I can use that power to oust her, expose her true intentions like I tried to with Nerimes. Hyana watches me with a lidded gaze, and unbidden my toes squirm, as if to reassure myself we're on dry ground and she can't read my thoughts. I will need certain assurances, of course, the woman says, shifting her necklaces. I catch a glimpse of dark tattoos on the collarbone beneath. The screams coming from the arena are pitiful now. My stomach tightens, knowing that could be me next time. You mentioned assurances at the cafe. What are you asking exactly? She reaches into the folds of her gown and pulls out a glass tube the size of my finger. A vial of your blood, given in full consent. Fill this up, and we can leave now. It's an effort to keep the shock from my face. My mind reels. Blood? Are you working with the Theracans? I remember Gaxna in Nerimes' bedchamber, forced to attack me against her will, and I shudder. No, dear, but I know someone who could be paid. In the meantime, it would keep you from misbehaving, wouldn't it? I ice the revulsion that comes up again, remembering Gaxna's story of how she left the Theracans Guild, of being forced to murder someone, then putting out her own eye to escape their blood push. I thought I'd found the answer in blinding their push as I can water sight, but with the ways Miara and Nerimes break the rules of our magic, I'm not so sure anymore. One thing I am sure of, I never want Miara and Hyana to start working together, and who knows how many Miara has taught her tricks to by now. My blind. I remember it, raise it thick here just to summon my own discipline. This is still a battle, whether we are using words or weapons, and as she changes stances, I have to respond, have to find the knowledge or advantage that will turn the tide, because I can feel myself losing. Before we go any further, I say, I need to know you actually have the power to get me out, or all this talk means nothing. You've seen these? Hyana holds up a copper signet with a crude A scratched into it. If I give this to the arena auditor, your debt will be considered repaid, and you can leave here a free woman. If I give it to Booker instead, it means you will go out there again tomorrow. She nods behind me, where the battle has just been the thump of a boot and decreasing cries of pain for some time now. And with your performance today, I don't doubt he'll arrange something more dangerous for you tomorrow. They don't take kindly to non-compliance here. I can't quite ice my shudder. Not at dying like the boy out there. I am competent enough to go out better. But at the bloodthirsty roar of the crowd, and the feeling that now more than ever the only thing keeping me from that are my own wits and hands. I force nonchalance into my voice, glancing back at the scene. He's gonna kill him then? I imagine so, unless someone throws him a coin, she says with the same air of indifference. I don't frequent the arena, but as I understand it, the boy's been around for some time, worn out his appeal. As bad as my situation is, it's good to remember it could be worse. What does a coin do? When a fighter has no coins to cede in defeat, the victor can feel free to beat or kill them instead. The crowd often tips handsomely for that. If someone up there is moved to throw wealth for the loser, however, the winner is obligated to take that in place of his life. A pity coin, it's called. Throw him one. Gianna meets my gaze levelly. Give me your blood. To have you just take it and walk out of here? I don't think so. Show me you're serious. Throw him a coin. She smiles. That sweet little heart of yours will get you in trouble, Alethea. Especially if you let people see it. But here. She pulls a copper mark from one of her braids of coins, then ties a red cloth to it and throws it through the bars. A gong sounds and the giant man pulls back, looking around with a wild light in his eyes. A killing light. His face is spattered in blood, and it's only then I notice a second body on the sands, this one unmoving. I should be afraid, but I just feel the urge to take him down, as strong as the one I feel against Nerimes and Hiana now too. So many enemies, so little time. Hiana turns back to me. Satisfied? Bring me the Chronicles and we can talk. Partially because my heart still aches at the loss of my father's letter, and partially because whatever secrets he thought were there might apply to her too. Her facade cracks for just a moment, the muscles in her jaw flexing. Ain't gonna leave you here, girl. Blood does me nothing if you don't come too. I start at the change in her tone, but keep mine level. I think it might be worth quite a bit to certain people in Saray. Nerimes? Hiana jerks at her necklaces. Trust me, I want nothing from him. Then bring me the Chronicles. I can't do that. Then I can't help you. It's a gamble, but she wouldn't have stayed even this long if she didn't truly need me for her plans. Hiana stands, icy composure regained. Then I will be putting your signet in again today. Maybe you'll face him tomorrow. She nods to the bull, who is still egging on the crowd. I ice the wave of anxiety that rolls over me. I would rather die here on my own terms than live under this woman's control. And I think Gaxton would want that too. I hope she would. She waves for the jailer to unlock the inner gate. Think hard, girl. I won't be patient forever. Another man radiating vitality comes and lets her out, shooting me a glower. Outside, attendants drag the broken boy and the other body away to cheers from the crowd. I watch with deep breaths, trying to still the roiling in my gut. I think I won the conversation. I didn't lose it, at least. But I can't help feeling a kinship with the boy, like I'm in the arena getting beaten down too, and Hiana holds the coin that decides my fate. Six. They come for me shortly after Hiana leaves, as another fight is getting started in the sandpit. This one a group battle with a horde of men with clubs and sticks facing a few warriors in shining armor. I am in the process of thawing my emotions. I've iced enough for a lifetime already today. So I jump at the rattle of the cage bars behind me, and find a burly man there with a key in the lock, his arms shimmering with wealth. "Let's go," he says in the heavy Dara accent. "Need to balance the lift." I consider attacking him, but I'm already starting to gauge the amount of vitality people are wearing, and his is more than I could handle. That, and I don't have the information I need to even know my chances of getting out once I got past him. I step out, and am surprised to see the Salem Dale man behind the guard, head and shoulders taller, along with the boy from the first fight, laid out on a wheeled stretcher. Wealth blankets the boy, radiating power like a bed of coals. "Got to give him at least till morning," the Salem Dale man is saying. "Boss's orders," the guard says, shrugging. "Can't commit this much house coin to just one kid." He's not a kid, he's the scourge of Duran, and you saw what the bull did to him out there. Take these bracers away and he dies. The guard gives him a level stare. I have my orders, Isong. You! He barks, nodding at me. You coming or what? He rattles a pair of iron shackles at me. I glance quickly at the Dale man, Isong, and raise an eyebrow. Between the two of us, we might be able to overpower this guard and get his keys. Isong shakes his head. I grimace. There's too much I don't know here to risk it alone. I walk out in seagull's glide to keep the uncertainty from showing in my step. More cells like the one I was in line the curving wall to our left, some of them housing fighters who sit or stand watching the fights in the arena beyond. Others, I'm shocked to see, doze or smoke clove twists in their cells. The place smells of sweat and men. Isong keeps arguing with the guard about letting the boy keep the wealth longer, that he'll be maimed or scarred if he doesn't, and I find a grudging respect for him, even if he was ready to throw our fight. He seems to really care about the boy, whose wounds look dire. This place is not what I was expecting, but it's still a trap, still just an obstacle between me and Gaxna and the deluge. I have to remember my trainer's last lesson, to be water. I will adapt to whatever this is, find the hidden cracks in this prison. And when I do, I'll freeze solid and burst them wide. We meet another guard shimmering with vitality at a branching and turn into a darker tunnel, the walls around us changing from worked sandstone to the impossibly smooth rock of the pre-deluge civilizations. The tunnel dead ends at a gate, which the second guard unlocks while the first one prods me inside, where a platform on chains waits. Another lift. Going to another tower? It doesn't hurt you to leave him the coins, Isong says, still standing outside in the hall. We can always send the wealth down if one of the fights goes bad, and you know he's not going to survive if you take it now. I have my orders, the guard repeats, though he glances at the other guard. Behind them, drops of blood beat a slow rhythm from the boy's stretcher. And I have articles and petitions already drafted, the Dale man says, towering head and shoulders above the guards. Enough to incite the gossip circles and tie you up in paperwork for days. The guard sighs. You really are a pain in the slop hole, you know that, Isong? He sketches a bow. I do my best. The guard lifts some of the belts of coins off the boy and pushes the stretcher in after us. The loss of vitality has an immediate effect. The boy's face goes pale, his breathing gets more ragged, and his skin purples. You'll be all right, Isong says quietly as the guards lock the gate behind us. Between the stretcher and our two bodies, there's not much extra space on the railed platform. I can't help watching the wounded boy. I ice the animal panic inside that says I need to get him to a healer or theracant or he's gonna die. We're locked in a tower and I don't even know if these people have healers or just a bunch of money they throw at someone when they get hurt. Instead, I say, where are we going? This could be the Amaranth's tower again for all I know, though I doubt Isong and the boy would be coming if it was. A bell echoes down from above, hollow with distance, and Isong strikes one set into the wall here. The lift lurches into motion. The barracks, Isong says with a pained smile. Your new home. They're in a tower? The Gale Tower. The single lamp hanging overhead casts deep shadows on his face. Best place to keep us from escaping. The highest tower in Duran, and they use it for criminals and thieves. I really only hear one word of that. But we can escape? Have you tried? Why didn't you run back there? He laughs softly, a bitter sound that echoes up the long dark shaft. If I ran, they'd just catch me and give me a beating. There's no way to escape. Trust me. Anon here has tried everything. To my shock, the boy on the stretcher chuckles. Twice, Anon croaks. Tried it all twice. There's no getting out. What about in the past? Has anyone ever gotten out? There are stories of it, Isong says, but not in my 3 years. His eyes glint in the lamplight. Look, I know you're confused, and that you're probably dying to get free, but everyone feels that way at first. You'll be fine. I frown. Fine like Anon? Isang bites his thin lip. Anon's a special case. Never been good at following the rules, have you? Beggar the rules, Anon croaks. I'd rather die. I feel a surge of kinship with him, even as Isang shakes his head. You would have died like Mainan today if I hadn't been there. And this girl, here. He raises eyebrows at me. A name. He wants a name, but I can't give him my real one, in case word gets back to Narimes. The last thing I want is to be trapped in a tower when a bunch of overseers come to kill me. Regiana, I say after a beat. I don't know why I picked it, but it feels right. She was a wise woman, and she died because of me. The least I can do is honor her name. Thank you, Anon croaks, eyes fluttering open to look at me. They are black and lively despite his condition. Someone else usually throws that coin. Which is why you need to get back in the system, Isang says, laying a hand on Anon's shoulder. Live to see her again. System? I ask. Is that why you were trying to let me win out there? Yeah, but don't worry about it. It was your first time. They'll understand. You might have to play losers for a while, but it was only one fight, and we didn't get a chance to talk to you beforehand. Your owner must really have it in for you, sending you in there without time to learn the rules. No one owns me. He gives me a sympathetic smile. Maybe no one owns you outside Duran, but until you get out of here, you're property. That's what this means. He holds up a copper signet around his neck, and I see it's etched with a fine likeness of his face. High cheekbones, proud nose, even the milky eyes. Looks like your owner doesn't trust you with yours yet. Hiana? I'd say we have a ways to go before we trust each other. What happened anyway? Are you really Ujayan? Nothing happened, I say. The less he knows of me, the better. I shouldn't even have said Hiana's name. And no, I'm from the Upper Peninsula. You're really Dale? I am. Or, I was. He makes an odd gesture, like he's popping the knuckles of his two missing fingers. What do you mean, you were? Just then another lift passes us on the other side of the shaft, a single lantern illuminating 3 men working handholds cut into the far wall. How'd our boy do? One of them calls out. He survived, Isang yells back, though it'll be a while before he can fight. Serves him right. Laughter echoes down the shaft, their light dwindling as the lift pulls us up and them down. Isang turns to me. Look, that's the halfway mark. There are some things I need to tell you if you're going to make up for what you did out there. Booker's going to be pissed. Booker? The one that plans the fights. He runs the arena on our side. Interesting. Maybe he can get me out. He decided I should win today? Why? Isang shrugs. Who knows why Booker scripts the way he does? Probably because Duran likes Saray better than the Deo, especially now that my people are taking so much trade from them. I'm almost always the villain these days. This place is definitely not what I thought, but Anon's proof it's no less deadly. So this Booker plans the fights ahead of time? Yeah, that's why you need to stay on his good side. Apologize for today if you get a chance. Tell him you didn't know. I'll put in a word for you too. Say there was no chance to explain out there and you were confused. Just follow the script next time and you'll be fine. Fine? You mean like being stuck here for 3 years? He cracks his neck. I mean like surviving. Outside Booker's system, the arena is no joke. You try to actually fight your way out and you're just going to get dead. Trust me, I've seen too many good people die. Fight your way out? Hope sparks in my gut. How do I do that? Isang sighs. This is how they keep the fights interesting. They dangle that hope in front of you so you take risks. So the fights don't look so staged. Trust me, you don't want to do it. The alternative is staying here forever? I think I do. The alternative is Anon, who can't keep doing what he's doing. Do whatever I damn well please, Anon mutters, though it is less convincing given his current state. That's why his opponent, I start. The bull, Isang supplies. The bull, right. That's why he was trying to kill Anon? He was trying to kill him because he could, because he's broke and doesn't have Booker's protection. I calm my breaths, trying not to worry about the low-grade fear that's been coming from my blood connection with Gaxna all day. What does being broke have to do with it? This is Duran. Being broke has everything to do with it. If you beat someone, outside of Booker's system anyway, you take their coins. All of them. And you can challenge anyone you want, as long as they have more Ravas than you. Earn enough and you can buy your way free. So why haven't you? You're not even trying? A mournful smile. How do you think I got this limp? System's rigged, Anon puts in. You gotta give half of what you make to your owner, and the other half? He scoffs. It'd take forever to make that much on what's left. How much is it? 5,000 Ravas. I frown. From what I know of Dura currency, Kiana was wearing 10 times that today. Hell, the big man in the arena was. So that's why Anon and his friend were fighting the bull? Because if they won, they could buy their way out? Just wanted, Anon croaks, to spit in his face. They were fighting him, Anon says softly, because Booker scripted them to. Yes, if you beat him, you would have walk price. But no one's ever beaten the bull. He has enough to buy his way out many times over, but he likes it in here. I squint. He likes it in here? There are some people who do better in institutions. But I wouldn't have to challenge the bull. I could just go for someone with a few coins more than me, which would be someone with any coins at the moment. Sure, but the people worth challenging are wearing those coins, and you've seen what wealth does in Duran. Vitality. So they're harder to beat. Big deal. Once I take a few of them out, then I'll have vitality on my side too. And you'll be more of a target. Most people who try don't even make it to 1,000 coins. That's where Booker comes in. He sets up the matches to keep us all from dying and only takes every 10th coin. I glance up, catching a light at the top of the shaft. So he decides who gets paid? No, that's the beauty of it, is no one wins or loses anything. We get to keep our wealth and add whatever the crowd throws down to us. Minus the half your owners get and Booker's 10th. That's why it'd take you forever to buy your way out. You're trying to do it on tips. The tall man flexes his jaw. Look, you're new here, and I'm sure you're mad about whatever got you in, but I'm telling you this for your own good. The sooner you start following the system instead of fighting it, the less likely you'll end up like him, he nods at Anon, or his partner. And the more likely I end up like you, I've got things I need to do with my life. People I care about. I can't stay here. His jaw muscles flex again. I had those too. But would they rather have you alive or dead? I don't say that a lot of them already are dead because of me. I can tell I'm not going to convince this looming man. Maybe Anon will have something more useful once I can talk to him alone. Isang's face softens. Reggiana, you don't know me, but I know that look in your eyes. I used to have it too. Trust me on this one. You want to live? You get in with Booker. Fight him, mess up his scripts, and you're going to be in trouble. This look is called hope, I almost say, but I hold it in. I appreciate what he's trying to do for me, even if it's misguided. It looks like it's been a long time since Isang had anything like hope. Instead, I pick up on the hidden threat. Trouble. Like what happened to Anon? Like what's been happening to him since he got in last year. Booker doesn't keep people he can't count on. Anon was popular with the crowd for a while. The Scourge of Duran, they called him. But he always ruined Booker's stories. And when the crowd lost interest, coins stopped coming in. So Booker started putting him in harder fights. Stopped protecting him since Anon wouldn't follow the scripts. Started stacking the fights against him to convince him to join. Which you're going to do now, right, Anon? Beggar that, the boy croaks. Isang sighs. I just don't want to see this happen to you, Reggiana, or to anyone. I know you're new, and you just want to get out, but promise me you'll think about it. Gray light filters down, and the lift sways as we approach the top. Sure, I say. I'm not going to, but no need to say that. I can tell this man has good intentions, even if I'd rather die than spend the rest of my life in a prison performing in staged fights. What I need to think about is how to get out. The lift lurches to a stop, and a guard steps forward to unlock the gate. Well then, Isong says, welcome to the Gale. Seven. The Gale might be one of the city's famed towers, but it looks nothing like the Tower of Many Names. Where the Amaranth's cupola was bright and filled with intricate woodwork, his place is dark and smells of human waste. The interior is worn brick, with light filtering in through a few narrow holes in the outer wall. A guard swings the iron gate wide, vitality radiating from him in waves. I see no other guards. It says something about the power of this magic, that he feels safe manning the tower alone. Could that be a way out? If I got the coin belts off him somehow, would I get that vitality? It didn't seem to work with the guards in the Amaranth's tower. Isong steps out and pulls Anon behind him. Anon's going to need a few days to recuperate, he says. Can you keep him in the stockroom until then? Beggar that, the guard spits. Was hoping he wouldn't come back. Isong sighs. Reggiana, would you help me get him up the stairs? I take the other side of the lift while the guard gives me an amused look. Reggiana, eh? You the one who refused to fight? Gonna get bloody tomorrow. I say nothing to him. I knew plenty of people like him in the temple. People I'd rather talk to with my fists. After he figures out I'm not responding to that, he shoves a bundle at me. Your clothes and your rations. A bowl, a cup, 2 sets of robes, and a blanket to sleep on. Enjoy 'em while you can. I snatch my thief's blacks from the top and feel a knot untie in my chest at the crinkle of paper inside. My father's letter. It's still there. I don't give the guard the satisfaction of asking why I should enjoy the rations now. I think I know. We lift a non-stretcher from the wheeled base and climb a staircase spiraling up the curved outer wall, rations tucked under my arm. The second floor is darker than the first, a narrow hallway with dim light spilling from a few open doors. It's hot, uncomfortably so after the cool of the lift. These are the barracks, Isong says. Anon's in the south, which is where you'll be too. We carry him through the left-hand door into a wide, semicircular space littered with stacks of clothes and sleeping pallets, a long row of round holes letting in light and air from the outside. The windows, I say, my grip tightening on the stretcher. Can you get out of them? Isong laughs. It's a 200-pace drop if you did, but no. Not even your shoulders would fit through that gap. I walk over to them anyway, after we set Anon down. He's right. The holes are maybe a third of a pace wide. Damn, only a child could wriggle through that. Then I see the view beyond, and my breath catches. The city stretches out like a sculptor's miniature, golden domes and red tile roofs leading down winding streets to the azure bay beyond, sails of trading ships of brilliant white in the sun. Better yet, for the first time in what feels like days, a fresh breeze comes through the window, carrying not sweat or blood or the stink of the city, but just the pure salt and moisture of the ocean. It is the same breeze I breathed every day through the temple's wide windows in Surrey, the smell of home. Isong clears his throat. The commons area is upstairs, but you'll want to wash yourself when you go up. I turn. Why? Is Booker there and he's going to try to convince me to fake fight for him? Your rations, the tall man says. This is still Daran, so no one's going to steal them from you, but you will get challenged. It's kind of a rite of passage. Everyone loses their rations the first day. You can always buy more from the stockroom, or inherit them when someone dies. Sounds lovely. I either get a dead person's blankets, or spend coin I could use to buy my way out to get a decent night's sleep. Resolve hardens in my gut. No one's taking my rations. I need these. And my hands are itchy, after refusing Isong's challenge in the arena and putting up with Hyana. I could use a good fight. So I pull my blacks on and march up the curving set of stairs at the far end of the hallway, fresh bundle of rations still in my arms. Isong clears his throat. So no one can kill you up here, but... I ignore him. I've spent my whole life battling for position. One of the things I learned is you never show weakness. Never give them anything to exploit. The top floor is open to the width of the spherical tower. Domed roof arching above like the top half of a bubble, stippled all over with the same maddeningly small holes. A sandy practice area dominates the central space, ringed by a wide walkway of worn wood with seats and cushions. It's deliciously bright and cool after the lower floors, afternoon sunlight streaming in 100 shafts to pool on the floor, and that same ocean breeze drifting through the windows. I throw my bundle of rations down. I'm new here, I call, and I'm keeping my rations, unless one of you slopholes wants to say different. Startled faces look up at me, though plenty don't. They probably get new fighters pretty regularly. A bulky Darnese man grins and stands, cracking his knuckles. I could use a fresh set of sheets, he says in the thick local dialect. Floor gets awful hard at night. I stride out onto the practice floor. And if you lose, I get your sheets? Isong nods from where he's watching with crossed arms, but the fighter just grins. You won't get him. Trust me. He swings in with an obvious punch and I catch it in Eel's kiss, twisting behind and under to slam him to the floor, binding his arm just short of breaking. He cries out in surprise and pain. Yield? I ask, twisting a little harder when he doesn't initially answer. Yield, he spits. I let him up. Then go fetch me your blankets. I turn, raising my arms. Who's next? A few more look up. There are maybe 40 people in the room, mostly men, clustered in small knots around water pipes and boards of a somwe or ancha. Another comes, his moves as slow and obvious as the first. I drop him with shifting tides, then press on his windpipe till he yields. Everyone is watching now, a few cracking jokes at the departing men, others gazing silently. The bull is among them, his massive bands of wealth at odds with the measly coins I see strung around other fighters' shoulders and neck. Him I do not want to face, but I didn't go into this entirely blind. The prize here is just a standard set of rations, and I'm quickly showing them what's at stake is their dignity, something I've found men in particular care a lot about. At some point, the reward will not be worth the risk, and the richer fighters will stay out of it. At least, that's what I'm hoping. But if I get beaten, so be it. I just want to fight. A third fighter comes at me, with the reddish skin of the Dura but violet eyes like mine. He rolls at the last moment in a move I've never seen, but I'm primed now, breath steady and reflexes honed. I leap high, then come down in drop that breaks the dam, gauging it to not quite break bones but give me time for a more traditional bind. Another fighter limps downstairs, shamefaced. Among the watching faces I catch one that is out of place, far older than the rest. Booker? Well, if it is, let him see my skill. Maybe we can work something out. And if not, maybe I can scare the others away. I fight 3 more men in rapid succession, better fighters but nothing I can't handle. My new stack of blankets grows at the top of the stairs, and every eye watches me now, though the flow of challengers doesn't slow. Good. The last real fight I had was Narime's wedding, and there are some things you can only work out with fists and feet. The next fighter that steps up is a pearler, if I read his wide nose and freckled skin right. 2 bands of coins slung across his chest in an X. They are all copper, worth only 11 ravas each, but still I take a centering breath. Then I thaw some of the anger I had to freeze at Hyana's betrayal. Let myself see her face on this man. Our fight lasts longer, his moves quick with vitality, but still communicated ahead of time through his stance and gaze. He lands a few punishing throws, and I respond with hits a little more forceful than they need to be, thinking of Hyana all the while. I trusted her. Stupid. Urte was right that I need to be water, that there are times you just have to trust, like I trusted Gaxna, but I should have seen the signs. Shouldn't have let my desperation blind me. And now I'm here. With a start, I realize I'm grinding his face into the sand, long after he's given up. I leap up, raising my hands. Sorry, I got distracted. He stands and spits sand, but grins with the same relaxed air I remember from my shipmates on the Mother's Blessing. If that was a distraction, I do not want to see you concentrated. I take a few breaths in basic tide, coming back to stillness. Maybe this isn't the right time to work out my emotions. I need to prove myself, that's how these places work, but I don't need to make enemies in the process. I've got enough already. I look around the wide space. Anyone else? Most of those without wealth look away, and some who wear coins too. I just beat a man with 2 strings of copper coins, 500 ravas or more. Though Ujay and Jaya, that's only 1/10 of the way to freedom, and maybe 1,000th of the wealth Hyana was wearing. I need some coins. I'm just about to go gather my new blankets, far more than I need, though I notice Anon could use a few, when one more stands up, vitality warping the air around him. My heart sinks. The bull. You want my rations? I ask, trying to imply he's too rich to care, but it comes out as a challenge. Flooding words. I never was good at them. No, he says, voice rough like it rarely gets used. I want my pity coin. Your what? It takes me a minute to even remember getting Hyana to throw him one. The coin that saved Anon's life. You have it. My owner threw it to you in the arena. I have a dull coin. He flings a copper coin in the sand as he strides towards me. I didn't spare that little beggar for this. I don't know what a dull coin is, but I know what this man is capable of. Isong said he couldn't kill me, but the words feel pretty flimsy before this mountain of vitality and muscle. Sorry, I say. I'll talk to her. Get a bright one for you. That's the opposite of dull, right? What you'll do is go downstairs and get the little thing so I can end him, the bull growls, coming right up against me. That puts his chest at eye level, and I see every coin on it is gold or better, worth 121 ravas. Floods. There are hundreds of them. This man could buy the freedom of half the people here. And the fact that he hasn't, that he'd rather stay here and be the biggest bully in a little pond, dries up the doubt I'm feeling. I don't want to negotiate with this slophole. I want to end him, or at least put a fist in his guts. No, I won't, I say. You want a coin? I'll get you a coin. But you want to kill a man in cold blood? You're going to have to go through me first. With pleasure, he says, and plants a punch in my chest that launches me out of the ring and into the far wall. I can't breathe. I see stars. I scramble to my feet anyway, knowing he won't stop yet. This is Meldon, the petty bully from my class in Surrey, made wildly strong. He's Meldon and I'm the helpless kitchen slave he uses to prop up his ego. I hate it. I can't win this, but I'm not just going to lie down either. He comes at me again, sprinting lightning fast over the sands. I jump for drop that breaks the dam, hoping for a quick end. He leaps in response, this massive boulder of a man, soaring the last 10 paces between us with a fist cocked back to break bones. I push off the sloped ceiling at the last moment, and his blow smashes into the wall, ringing the cupola like a giant bell. I land to feel the floor rattling with vibration. He thuds down and I spin, forcing myself to concentrate, to look for the advantage that will turn the odds here. I find nothing. He doesn't charge so much as appears in front of me, meaty fist clamping around my neck and lifting me from the ground. Maybe I'll end you too, he grins. I can't breathe. My blood pounds. I kick and thrash in his grasp like a drowning cat, reading nothing but cold pleasure through the bond of our skins. All this for a flooding coin? Enough, a voice calls across the sands. It's not particularly loud or threatening, but the bull loosens his grip, glancing across the circle. I gasp in air. The old man sits on the far side, a hint of mirth in his eyes. His crooked smile reveals teeth stained a dark purple from chat addiction. I think you've impressed her enough for one day, Kolhandash, he says. And the arena won't look kindly on a murder up here, even if she is new. The bull huffs air out his nose, for all the world like a petulant child. He drops me, and I barely keep my feet, gasping and clutching my throat. Amidst the relief, a sliver of ice slides down my spine, not just at how narrowly I escaped a vicious beating, but at the power Booker so casually holds. My coin, the bull growls. My coin or your friend dies. He stalks off and I take a deep breath. So much for not making new enemies. 8. I give most of the blankets back, learning the names of my fellow gladiators and smoothing over the worst of the hard feelings, I hope. It helps that a lot of them commiserate about the bull. Apparently, he gives everyone the same treatment their first day. He just had a valid excuse with me. Isong explains what a dull coin is as I roll out my pallet. In the South Barracks, which is apparently where all the poorer fighters sleep, because it's hotter. I don't miss that Isong's pallet is here, along with Anand's. I set up between them. Dull means it doesn't have vitality, he says. That it got damaged somehow, or didn't come from the Duran forges. They're worth less. But the coin she threw him was Duran forged, I say, frowning at my palette and cup and bowl. It's no thieves' hideout. My heart aches at the thought, and I shove it back down. But it'll do. She took it right off one of her necklaces. Isong shrugs. Must have been damaged then. Or maybe the bull lied about it, to try to legitimize his bullying for once. Though I don't think even he would throw it away unless it really was dull. A bell echoes up from the floor below, where the lift and privies are. Dinner, he says. Come on, I can introduce you to more of the crew. I think I'll stay, actually. The barracks are mostly empty, and I'm accepting this is probably as close as I'm going to get to solitude in this crammed tower. Judging from the beds, there are well over 100 fighters up here. Could you get some for me? He takes my bowl and leaves, and I spend a few minutes arranging my blankets into a proper meditation prop. I remember Urte's reprimand in the water. A little clarity would help you. Yes, sir, I mutter, settling into my seat. I slow my breathing in basic tide. After I'm calm, I reach for the emotions I've iced. The anger I felt facing down the bowl, and underneath it the fear and worry at my capture. Breathing through it, I see the fear was not for myself so much, but for Gaxna and my father's quest. That if I fail or die, they die with me. That the secrets to stopping the next flood might stay locked up there in the Amaranth's tower, and the visions I saw in the immersion will come true. Saray, Duran, all the cities of the world swept away before anyone knew to look for it. All the religions and beliefs about getting saved wrong, even as they hold seeds of truth. It's heavy, feeling like I'm the only one trying to do something about this. But it also feels right. I've trained my whole life to be of service to my city. I thought that would be offering counsel as a seer, but this is bigger. What does guiding the people of the city mean if they're all killed in a catastrophic flood? I breathe deep, fear melting away with the anger. This purpose is too big to feel afraid or angry. It's probably impossible. Maybe even getting out of this tower is impossible. But it helps just to know that I'm trying. Pushes me past petty fears about my own life and my own wants and needs. What do these things matter if we're all going to die? All I can do is try. Which brings my thoughts back to the first step, escape. Here I have frozen blocks of frustration and hope. Hope because it all seems so casual. A single guard at the lift gates, keys on the jailer making the rounds at the arena, these unguarded windows so tantalizingly close. Frustration because it's just out of reach. Both frozen because both are distractions, things that will keep me from seeing my situation clearly. I take a shuddering breath and let these emotions flow too. Visualize the frozen blocks melting in the summer sun, flowing downstream to the ocean. I will get out. I will get back to Gaxna and do what I can about the floods once she's safe. This is too big for a couple of walls and a corrupt system to hold me in. Which leads my thoughts back to Hiana. It takes a while to melt all that anger, the raw rage I felt at the one person I thought I could trust in this city so casually betraying me, and then trying to coerce me into working with her. I spend a while on the bitterness, too, knowing it was my fault for getting baited into burgling the tower, for being so desperate to do something about Gaxna that I allowed myself to be baited. Never again. Once the emotions have thawed, though, the memory of my last talk with her grows clear as spring water. She needs me. Hiana wants to unseat Narimes and Miara, which I'm all for, but knows Saray would never accept her as a replacement. A little tension releases in my shoulders, thinking it through. There has to be a way to use that, to avoid giving her my blood, but still get out of here. She needs me, even if only as a figurehead. Working with her would be easier than trying to fight my way out, as Isong claims no one has done since he came here. Still, once the emotions are melted, I find a hardened rock underneath, a boulder revealed in the surf that says if nothing else works, I will fight my way out of here, even if it means going through the bowl. I let out a long breath, feeling the last of my iced emotions melt and flow out to sea. I am left with only tranquility, despite being locked in an inescapable tower, facing an endless series of rigged fights. I take a slow, untroubled breath. This tranquility never lasts, but I've learned to savor it while it's here. Anon stirs on the pallet next to mine. "New girl," he croaks. "You survived the bull." "Better than you did." I crack my neck, tranquility fading at his words. "You doing okay?" "Could use a smoke." The thought of a clove wrap, mixed with the deep red sunset coming in through the windows, takes me right back to Gaxna's hideouts, and how we would sit and smoke on the rooftops at the end of the day, cooking whatever we'd stolen over her little charcoal stove. My throat tightens. Me too. "Here," he says, coins clinking as he hands me a familiar tube of leaf. I stare at it. "How did you get that? I thought you were broke?" "Well, there's broke and there's broke. You try to keep money around here, everyone's gonna fight you for it. But make them think you never have anything?" He shrugs and winces. They stop looking. "So you want it or what?" I take it, and next thing I know, he's got a match flaming for me to draw in. "Where?" "Don't waste the flame," he says. "Matches cost too." I don't, pulling at the clove wrap. It's stronger and harsher than what I'm used to. Gaxna smoked only the best, despite being a Blackwater girl. But still, it feels like a little piece of home. I exhale. "Thank you." Anon shrugs, wincing as he does it. "Heard you got me these blankets." He reaches out, and I hand him the twist. Coffers know Isong wouldn't do it. Isong's name brings me out of my reverie. The clove leaf is nice, but what I need is to get out of here. "Isong," I say. "On the lift. He said you've tried to escape this place." Anon breathes out a long cloud of smoke. "Every way there is. Windows, guards, bribes, stealing, costumes, you name it." "And there's really no way out?" His smoke rolls in the shafts of crimson light, eddying in the unseen currents of air. "There really isn't, unless you fight your way out. You practicing for an endurance match up there?" "A what?" "An endurance match, where you just challenge people back to back, try to earn your way out in one go so Booker doesn't have time to stop you." "Interesting." "No, have people done that?" "Guy tried a couple months ago. Didn't work." He hands me the twist. What about you? I take a pull. You can't sneak your way out and you can't fight. Why haven't you joined Booker's system? Because beggar him. Anyways, he wouldn't take me now. I'm all played out. And I've done nothing but piss him off since I got here. He scrunches his chin. And I steal too much of his merchandise. I start, looking at the twist. You stole this? He stole half the city in wealth before he got caught, Isong says, stepping in with a bowl for me. I set it down. I'm hungry, but it looks disgusting. That's where he got the name. Isong sits on his mat and pulls his sandals off. The Scourge of Duran. And why everyone hates me now, Anon says. Used to love seeing me all tied up down there, taking beatings for daring to touch their coin. Till I started stealing the fun from that too. Now they won't even throw a coin to keep me alive. Lick it. I don't care. He pulls hard at his clove. What if you stole coins, I ask, still staring at the holes in the wall. It's like freedom is right there, taunting me. Like the guards. Could you get vital enough to rip one of those windows open? The bull's punch dented the metal up above, after all. Doesn't work like that, Isong says, massaging his legs with the heels of his palms. Vitality requires ownership. You can lend your wealth to someone else, like the arena coins Anon has on. But if the owner hasn't consented, you gotta wait a month or more before they switch to your face, Anon says. Pretty annoying when you're a thief. Slops. No wonder my move didn't work in the Amaranth's tower. And even if I did get the coins off a guard, there's no way I could hide that for a month up here. Or even a day. Besides, Isong says, with that much wealth you could just buy your way free, and avoid having to climb down the massive tower and run once you got to the bottom. I don't mention that I basically did all that this morning. It already feels like a long time ago, and nice as these two are, it's probably better if they don't know everything I'm capable of. Not unless they need to. That's the first rule of Watersight. Let no one in. Another part of my mind chews on their words. Looks at the situation like Trainer Yemla would, like a theocrat, in terms of monies and numbers. So where do all the coins go? Seemed like the crowd was throwing lots of tips. Back into the system, Isong says. Half to your owners, and a tenth to Booker unless you're outside the systems. Gods forbid, Anon mutters. And then there are the everyday necessities of life, and they all cost double up here. What he's saying, Anon says, stubbing out the clove, is that we all know we're not getting out, so we spend it as soon as we get it. Focus on enjoying today rather than saving to get killed tomorrow. Even Isong here hit the chot pretty hard for a while. Isong pauses, mouth open, and I notice for the first time that his teeth are stained purple. Chotnut. We didn't see much of it in Saray, but it's supposed to be like concentrated clove leaf, making you relaxed and giddy, and wanting more after, which is why people get so addicted. I did, he admits. Still do, Anon says. I see you at night, and coffers know you're not stacking much coin. Isong's back goes stiff. I have my needs. So the money flows back to Booker and the guards, I say, thinking it through. Every piece of information I get on this place is another crack, another fissure I can seep into, maybe find a way out. Doesn't anyone care that they're the real ones keeping the rest of us from escaping? There are stories of the way it was, Isong says, before Booker came. How no one lasted more than a month in here. And yeah, some people got free, but most of them got killed because there were no rules, no protections. It was every fighter for themselves. This way is better for everyone. We stay alive and comfortable, our owners make more money, and the crowds throw more tips because at the end of the day, they'd rather see interesting stories played out than death match after death match. And all that money they throw goes back to the owners and Booker and the guards selling drugs up here, I say. No wonder everyone's broke. It's also safer that way, Isong says. There's no point in challenging a fighter without coins, unless you're so desperate you're banking on a pity coin. Speaking of which, he digs in his robes and pulls out a copper coin. This was still in the sands. Definitely dull. I take the coin. It looks like an average rava, stylized 7 towers of Duran on one side, owner's face on the other, Kiana. I bite it. If it were real, I would feel the subtlest of vibrations when I do, a hint of vitality, but I don't. The coin really is dull. I take it out and gaze at her image, like the woman will turn to me and start telling me her secrets. The secret path out of here that I'm missing. On either side of me, Isong and Anon start bickering about Booker and the best way to survive, but it suddenly feels so small. A detail I need to not get lost in. I don't need to survive here. I need to get out. I stand and walk to the window. Outside, the sun is a burning sliver sinking behind peaks to the west, casting shadowed fingers that reach across the city to the bay's open water. Beyond their grasp, the unfurled sails of a few departing ships catch its light, crimson against the blue-green sea. My heart aches to be out there, rolling deck under my feet, pointed toward home. I stare for a moment, then let the feeling go. Longing will do nothing. I am stuck here, but I'm not as stuck as I was. Like I found the cracks in the lies about my father, like I found the weaknesses in the Therakins Guild, I am finding the fissures in my prison here. And when I find the deepest ones, when I see the light coming from the other side, I will be the water of my God and flow through them, back to the sea. Or if I must, I will freeze solid in the deepest parts and split them wide. Gaxman needs me, the world needs me, and I don't have time to wait. I'm getting out, no matter what it takes. 9. Morning finds me waiting for the lift with other fighters, Isong by my side. It's hot and dark, with most of the ventilation windows on this level taken by the stockroom, and the brutal Duran sun already heating up the metal walls of the tower. I'm groggy from lack of sleep. The barracks chamber filled up last night, and I can't sleep next to people I don't trust. Isong shifts beside me. You missed roll call this morning. Booker's written you into one of the Myths of Origin fights. You're playing a North Coast pirate, but it's nothing difficult. Put up a good fight, then let the merchants knock you down. I didn't miss roll. Isong told me what it was, and I decided sleep was more important, especially because it meant the barracks cleared out for a while. And if I don't, if I beat them instead, he sighs, then the story'll get thrown off, and the crowd won't like it, and Booker will get mad. But I'll get paid? Yes, technically, you'll be entitled to the coins of everyone you defeat, as long as the victories are clearly yours. But, Isong, I say, putting a hand on his arm, it's solid muscle. I appreciate what you're trying to do for me, but I'm gonna make my own way. I'm saved from his answer by the lift, which thumps to the top loaded with water buckets. I'm guessing the ancients who built this place had a better way to get water up here, but it makes sense now that they balanced the descending fighters with something coming up. We pull the buckets off and wait for the lower bell, signaling the lift's been loaded again, then step on. There are 2 other fighters on the lift with us, Daranese men with thick mustaches and a few hundred ravas strung around their necks. Their talk feels so out of place, wives and politics and the coming rainy season, as if they were merchants on their way to work and not imprisoned slaves being forced to fight for others' entertainment. Like this is all normal. I don't know how anyone could call this normal. I'm not staying long enough to find out. Isong tries again at the bottom of the lift, touching my elbow. Booker's testing you today, seeing if you can control yourself. It's easy to be on the winning side, then you just have to fight. But if you show him you can take a fall, then he knows he can count on you in the future. And if I did, then he'd give me a little piece of the tips? I try not to let the disgust show in my voice, but I've never been great at words. A 15th, because there'll be 15 of us all together, minus his 10th, of course. It's everything I can do not to stare at him. And why is that better than just attacking people directly and taking their coins again? Because if you do that, you'll make yourself a target, he says, like a nun. I don't want to watch you go through that. The lift clanks down, and the guard at the bottom unlocks the gate. We follow him out into the hallway. I won't, I say, giving him a reassuring pat. For a towering mass of muscle and scar, this man is bizarrely tender. The guard waves me into a cell. See you out there, okay? He looks like he wants to say more, but the guard unlocks a cell and nods me in. I go. I've been watching for any gaps in the guard system as we walked out, but that escape route looks pretty hopeless. There are guards at every intersection and more patrolling the halls, all of them strapped with 10,000 ravas of vitality, more than I could handle even with the element of surprise. I settle onto the worn stool in my cell, the room identical to yesterday. More of an arched tunnel, really, with a locked iron gate behind me opening onto the hallway, and an unlocked one in front leading to the sands. I find basic tide with my breath and clear my head, like I was trained to do before any real fight. Today, I begin to fight my way free. The entertainment starts an hour before midday, stands above slowly filling as pairs of fighters duel, varying weapons and costumes and rules to keep things interesting. There are other displays too, jugglers and singers and acrobats, but fights seem to be the main attraction. Apparently, when you're too wealthy to die, you get a morbid curiosity about those who can. I scan the stands for Hyana while the Perler man I fought yesterday, Tewo, faces off against a pair of slender knife throwers. It would be an interesting fight, but I can see they're holding back, drawing it out for entertainment's sake, and that the weapons are blunted to do less damage. Nothing a trained fighter would find interesting, but I'm realizing more and more this is theater, not combat. I don't see Hyana, though she could easily be in the stands behind me or coming later to catch my fight. I hope she does. I want her to see what I do today. Show her she's not my only option for getting out. There's a challenge duel between a fighter with just a few coins and another with about 300, and I revise my opinion about this being theater. They are still using subpar weapons, but the challenger is doing everything he can, and the challenged gladiator fights back just as hard. The challenge ends up failing, which means the richer man claims all the challenger's coins, but they both end up bloody, and the crowd roars its approval. A guard rattles the gate behind me, and the announcer's voice booms out, "Now, noble and wealthy of Duran, we present to you the 8th episode in our ongoing Myths of the Origin series, The Legend of Achim, in which a valiant group of early Dara merchants battle off a horde of North Coast pirates to deliver their cargo safely." I slow, gazing up at the announcer's booth. I know that voice. Booker. But I guess if he scripts the fights, it makes sense he'd call them too, though Jay knows how he makes his voice so loud. I run out onto the sands. Time to piss in Booker's well. "Citizens of Duran, the fate of our heritage is once again in the hands of a few champions. Will our stalwart ancestors triumph over the North Coast brigands, or will we see history rewritten today and their precious cargo seized by brigands?" The crowd boos, while guards rippling with vitality carry massive pieces of wood through the southern gates, then fit them together to form a stage version of a ship. It's missing its bottom, as if its keel were sunk deep in the sand. Fighters in gaudy merchants' robes climb to the deck, Isung among them, while others wearing loose rags gather at the north end. That's where I'm supposed to go, so I can pretend to fight and get struck down and make my pathetic 50 ravas or whatever it will be. Flood that. I left the costume in my cell, and stride across the sands now in the thief's blacks I came here in. Isang motions for me to go join the others, and I ignore him, weighing the battleground while Booker announces something about the 5 wealthiest families of Duran tracing roots back to this day. There are 5 fighters on the ship, swinging metal weapons. The 9 or so at the far end, dressed like I was supposed to, hold wooden sticks and clubs. I spin the club they gave me as I approach the pirate crew. I need to clearly mark each victory as mine to get the coins, but that's going to be hard to do in a melee. So while Booker's still talking, I sprint toward the north end. The pirates are easier to reach than the merchants, and one of those sticks will feel a lot more like the staffs I was trained on. I pick out the fighter with the best-looking stick and level my club at him. "You," I say. "I challenge you to a duel, here and now." And so they fought to the last man, repelling the pirates back into the frigid waters, Booker booms out, reciting some old version of the legend. The fake pirates frown at me. "Don't be stupid, new girl," my mark says. "We haven't even started yet." "I have," I say, and swing in. He jumps back, the other fighters cursing, and I press in with a series of kicks and slashes, knocking the stick from his hands and dropping him to the sand with a solid blow to the head. He's still conscious, but before I can even get a foot on his throat, he raises his hand, and the gong sounds. That will be one of the guards around the perimeter, signaling a witnessed victory. I hear a disturbance in the crowd, though Booker doesn't miss a beat. I snatch his stick up, it's almost a staff, and then turn to the others waiting there. Who's next? The fighters look at one another, then Booker, a little early I think, yells, "Fight!" As one, they start running toward the ship. I chase them, stick in one hand and club in the other. It must look funny, a lone girl chasing a pack of pirates, because laughter ripples through the stands above. I don't care. I'm not here to earn their respect or their admiration. I'm here to get free. "You!" I yell at the one nearest to me. "Stop!" She doesn't, so I thrust the spear between her legs and grab her mid-fall, slamming her to the sand in wave-strike stone. She pushes up, grimacing, and I recognize a woman I fought yesterday. Safela, her name is, a Daranese woman locked up for stealing to feed her family. I hate that she's trapped here, but maybe fighting me will remind her she has options. She moves with heightened speed, a few coins strung around her neck, but I have the reach of this stick, and she's encumbered with a pirate costume and a heavy club. The match doesn't last long. She raises a hand in defeat, then scowls at me. "You know how long it took me to make those coins?" I offer her a hand up. "I know it would have been faster if you'd been fighting for real. You've got skill. Use it." She slaps my hand away. "Can't get up till the match is over. Now beg off." Behind me the pirates and merchants clash, to much shouting and banging of clubs against the wooden sides of the ship. I catch sight of one pirate still back at the starting point, sitting in the sand. I frown until he grins and raises a hand. Anon. My stomach twists. He shouldn't be out here, and I don't see any of the arena's wealth on him. The pirates are supposed to lose today, and the way his wounds looked this morning, one solid club hit could still end him. Then I get it. Anon's outside Booker's system, so he's not protected, and Booker doesn't like him. He's in this fight because Booker thought that Anon dying, or maybe getting thrown another pity coin, might add a little more spice to the battle. A little dose of reality in the middle of all this acting. Or maybe he's here as a warning to me. I get it, and I hate it. Ujaism teaches that every life is sacred, a channel for Ujai's water. I cannot understand someone willing to trade that for a little added drama or a few extra coins. I run toward the battle at the ship. Anon changes my plans a little. I was going to just ignore the fight and beat as many people as I could. But if I leave a merchant unbeaten, they will have to go defeat Anon to fulfill the script, and maybe take their frustration out on him, like the bull did yesterday. As much as I want to get out of here fast, I'm not letting Anon die here today. I dash past the battle swirling around the prow of the ship and scale the back. Merchants first, pirates later, and to hell with Booker's script. They've noticed me, of course, and one of the merchants turns to fight me. Tewo, the pearler I fought yesterday, bands of coins still slung across his chest. He was a hard fight, and he'll be harder now that he's carrying real steel, and I've just got this stick. Good thing it's not my only weapon. He runs forward, yelling a war cry that's obviously for the crowd's benefit. I can tell he's not used to a sword. His fighting style seemed more centered on throws yesterday, so I sidestep and swing for his head, hoping the unfamiliar parry will knock him off balance. He drops the sword and rips the stick from me instead, hurling it over the side of the ship with the enhanced speed and strength of vitality. I take Kelp Waver's stance, wanting to unbalance whatever kind of throw he's going to try, and summon the weapon I've trained in since I was 7, Water Sight. He grabs me as expected, and the water bond between our skins explodes with information. His amusement at my resistance, his over-reliance on the strength and speed his coins give, but most of all the form of the throw he's going to use. I lean left as he tries to swing me right, making the move awkward, and grab his wrist as he lets go, adding a twist. I feel an awful pop from his bones, then I'm sailing through the air to crash against the ship's railing. Floods. A half-pace higher and I'd be flying over the side. I roll up to find him cradling his arm, hand limp. I snatch up his sword. "Tewo!" I shout over the noise, leveling it at him. "Don't make me do this!" "I am not," he says calmly, and runs at me. He's still fast and strong, but without his left arm his fighting style is crippled, and I get him down in another few moves, sword leveled at his throat. He raises his arm, and the guards ring his defeat. The crowd boos. This is not the story they wanted to see, but I grin, eyeing the bands of wealth across his chest. Maybe earning coins will be easier than I thought. I take a breath and focus. At the prow of the fake ship, the other 4 merchants are making a melodramatic stand against the pirates below, who for their part are dying in loud and unlikely ways. Hopefully not too many of them die. I want their coins too. I stalk across the deck and challenge the fighter nearest to me, a hulk of a man with stylized scars running across his torso. He rounds on me, scowling, and as soon as I've got his attention I dart in with a sword, putting my whole body into a spinning slash at his hip, meant to numb his leg. He takes it with a grunt and advances on me, baring yellowed teeth. "New girl," he says. "No coins, right? You picked the wrong fighter." Floods. If I lose to this man, no one's going to throw me a pity coin. He could kill me under Darnese law, which just means I can't lose. I'm used to that. He chops down with a massive sword and I slip sideways, then ram Tewo's sword between his knees and pull backwards, leveraging the farther one out from under him. He goes down with a thud and I leap in with diver's bind. He grabs my head in 2 giant hands, but I keep pressure on, and fortunately his arms go limp before he can do whatever he intended to do. The gong sounds, and I murmur a silent prayer to Ujay that I haven't made an enemy of this man. I don't want to face him alone in the barracks, even if murder's prohibited up there. I stand to find the 3 remaining merchants making comically quick work of the pirates, the fighters below falling at the mere touch of a sword. Floods. They must have realized their best chance to salvage Booker's story is to gang up on me. If they're as good as Tewo and the last man were, that's going to be a problem. The final pirate falls and they turn to me, a bear of a man on the left, a slender knife thrower in the middle, and Isong on the right. Above us, the announcer booms something about the Saray witch, but the crowd's reaction seems mixed. Apparently, I'm not interesting enough. I take a deep breath and settle my thoughts, gripping sword in one hand and stick in the other. They want a show? I'll give them a show. Knife thrower darts in, knifeless but thrusting with his spear sharp enough to do damage. I got a read on him watching his earlier fight though, so I know that he's likely to overextend on the attack. He does, and I jerk on the spear shaft, pulling him from his feet. The other 2 close on me, and I have to spin backwards, parrying a painfully strong blow from the bear. 1 down. If I can just distract another one, maybe I can... Isong slashes at me with his sword, just as the bear rears back for another attack, and again I have to give ground. They pincher me, spreading apart so I can't track both of them easily, and not for the first time today, I wish we were standing in water or blood or anything wetter than this flooding sand and wood, so I could read their thoughts. I have to read their bodies instead. The bear stands in a traditional sword fighter's stance, 1 foot forward with 2 hands on the pommel, but Isong melts from his into something I've never seen before, wide-armed and legged like an octopus about to ink. I don't know what it is, but I give a little more ground, fearing his long reach. They are skilled enough fighters that they know their best chance is to coordinate their attack. We all tense, waiting for the first move. Because of my endless hours training, I see the moment the bear tenses, sense Isong's weight shift as he rocks back on one heel, knife thrower just getting up behind. I do the only thing I can. I slip between the jaws of their pincher, surprising the knife thrower with a vicious kick to the face. It's not graceful. It's not the move I would choose if I had time, but I just need to win this. His head snaps back and the gong sounds and the crowd splits into roars of approval and dismay. I have no time for them. I spin, taking up the knife thrower's spear and stamping the head off. Finally, a proper staff. "You take left and I've got right," the bear growls to Isong. "We still got this." Then his eyes widen, focusing behind me. "Slops, Anon's still out there." Isong slows. "Hegdon, wait." "Lick that. Story's not complete till we get him. You hold her off. Maybe finally ending that little beggar will turn this piss pot of a fight around." He swings off the ship's rail, and I meet Isong's eyes, seeing the indecision there. "Well, this is your precious system, right?" I ask. "Letting Anon die?" The bear drops off the side and starts running. Still, Isong hesitates. I suffer from no such reservations. I turn and leap over the side of the ship, hitting the sand in a dead sprint. Up ahead, Anon is still laying on his back, tracing shapes in the air. I would grin at his pure insolence if I wasn't so worried about keeping Hegdon from beating the life out of him. I close on the beastly man, but he has a head start and must have a fair amount of coins because he moves faster than I'd expect. I reach him just as he gets to Anon, sword raised to smash into the wounded thief. I leap at him in a 2-footed drop that breaks the dam. It's only when my feet connect, when the power of the blow on his upper back knocks him off his feet and over Anon, that I realize how silent the crowd went during our chase. Because as I land on one side and Hegdon thuds down on the other, they erupt into cheers. Hegdon stumbles to his feet, murder in his eyes now. I don't want to face that if I don't have to. "Anon," I hiss, "put your arms up. Surrender." He chuckles. Surrender doesn't mean slop when you don't have coins. But don't worry about it. I knew this was coming. "Flood that," I spit, and step over him to block Hegdon's chop with a staff held in 2 hands. I angle it sideways so the force of his blow pulls him unexpectedly to the left. I thrust up in the momentary opening that buys me with shifting tides. He doesn't fall, flooding vitality, but he comes close enough that a second shifting tide to the other side of his head does it. The gong sounds. The crowd's roar doubles, and in my peripheral vision I see a few coins glittering in air. Tips. I guess they like an underdog story. I turn to find Isong just trotting up. I get between him and Anon and set my feet. The crowd's cheers drop into tense silence as Isong abandons his sword and opens into that same strange stance I glimpsed on the ship. Spider-like, with wide arms and legs, but graceful, ready to strike. "Give it up, Isong," I call. "You fought well, but this fight's over, and I won't let you hurt Anon." We begin to circle. "You give it up, Reggiana. I would never hurt Anon." "Not even with Booker watching?" He snarls and strikes, faster than 3 coins should make him. I counter with a thrust at his belly. He slides around it and grabs my arm. Information floods in. His true concern for Anon, his anger at what I've done here, but most importantly, the next move he plans. Only, I can't understand it. It's not even a move, it's more like a diagram? Mathematics? I slam into the sand, Isong's weight on top of me. Focus again and flip him off me with water unwinds the knife. He keeps hold somehow, and it's everything I can do not to dislocate my wrist as we tumble. And still I can't make sense of his thoughts. I do what I know. I jam my free hand down in diver's bind. He twists under me, and before the bind can take effect he's got a leg wrapped around my waist. and then I'm pinned face up against the sands, legs bound in his, scrabbling for leverage against his greater strength. "Damn you, Isong!" I call over the roar of the crowd. "Let me up!" "You had your chance," he says simply, then grabs my left ankle and starts to twist. I grip my teeth in anger, trying to roll or grab something as the pain mounts. "You know you won't actually do it," I call. "You put on a good show, now just give up." He keeps twisting, and my tendons scream. "Concede, Reggiana, it doesn't have to be like this." Desperately, I ice all the emotions roiling in my gut, try to ice the shocking pain, and seek that still place inside, somewhere I can focus, find a... My ankle breaks with a snap I feel in my whole body, and pain ricochets up my spine. The world grays, and I hear a gong. Isong swims in my vision, standing now and spreading his arms to a ground-shaking roar of approval, coins showering down. I slump back to the sands, vision graying with shock and pain. So much for fighting my way free. The next few minutes pass in a haze. Guards lifting me from the sands, someone else handing me coins, a long trip down a dark hallway to a lamplit room where a woman, Pnewa, presses a cup of something bitter to my mouth. I wake sometime later to the same lamplit room, dancing shadows playing across the ancient stonework above. The air is dry and cool, and I smell citrus and alcohol under the thin smoke of charcoal. There are symbols impressed in the ceiling, and it takes me some time to realize I have been staring at them for hundreds of breaths, trying to read a script I don't know. The T. It must have had thorn bark as well as something for the pain. I focus on the throbbing in my ankle. The pain brings clarity, carrying the visceral memory of the moment my ankle snapped, of Isong rising in that same strange fighting stance, of the bizarre shape of his thoughts during the fight, like these ancient glyphs on the ceiling, obviously meaningful but illegible to me. I've never read thoughts like that before, even when I used watersight on the Salem Dale man at the warehouse in Surrey. I understood him in a kind of pictographic way. That's how it's always been with people who don't speak a variant of Ujjayan. "Watersight is deeper than language," Trainer Yemla used to say, pacing behind us as we faced off over ancha boards with fingertips touched, seeking each other's thoughts even as we tried to blind our own. "It is the very shape of our blood." I snort. Turns out there are some things even Yemla doesn't know. And though we trained in foreign stances and styles, I know we never saw whatever Isong was using out there, which is probably why he beat me. Another throb of pain from my ankle. I look down to see it splinted, with a thick band of coins threaded into the bandages. "So the witch is awake," a voice comes from my right. I glance over and find Sefela on a bed next to me, her face bandaged with a sack of shimmering coins tied to it. "Admiring the coins you stole?" I feel a stab of guilt at taking her coins, even as my shoulders relax. The coins around my ankle aren't borrowed from the infirmary like Anon's were. Those coins are mine, the first part of my ticket out of here, if I don't find a better way first. And under my relief, a touch of anger too. I didn't steal them, I say. I pulled you out and fought you one-on-one. That wasn't the script. Flood the script. Has anyone ever gotten out by following the script? No one gets out, girl. "Thinking of breaking out later today," a familiar voice calls from my other side. I turn to see Anon with a fresh pile of coins on his chest. I suck a breath. "Did Isong?" He barely tapped me. "This is still from the bull. And to get to see Pnewa Joe again, of course." I start. I look over to find the aged woman working at a counter loaded with jars and oils. She's a healer? Pnewa rolls her eyes. "After my maidenhead is all you are, Anon Midoa. Can anyone blame me?" She's easily 3 times his age, but this sounds like familiar ground for them. Anon probably ends up here a lot. She turns and I start. That first day was a blur. but in the peace of the infirmary she looks familiar. Sarayan, but it's more than that. Something in the cast of her eyes and the self-possessed way she carries herself. She walks like a Therakint. Panewa catches my gaze. Don't worry, child. I've taken none of your blood. And I'm not a Therakint, and no matter where I came from. Any more than you are. I smell the lie as soon as it leaves her lips, but I stay quiet. The Therakint Guild sends sisters all over the world, ostensibly to teach and spread knowledge of healing, but the temple taught that their secret purpose was to get into high places and influence events. Is that what this woman is doing here? Was she sent to spy on me? It's never about you, I hear in my mind. I'm surprised to find it is Reggiana's voice, not one of my trainers. Not really. And the mind's attempts to make it about you are always a distraction from what is true. I take a deep breath and find my stillness. Reggiana was never my teacher, not formally, but her words ring true. Perhaps there is something to be learned from this fellow Sarayan far from home, but it's unlikely it has anything to do with me or what I'm doing here. Still, I file the information away for later. She could be another crack in the prison holding me. Or she could be a hole Miara uses to spy through. Better to steer the conversation elsewhere. There are other fighters laid out on beds here, and I'd rather not have anyone contemplating who I am or what my connection to Saray really is. Good to know, I say. How long do you expect this will take to heal? Looks like a fair amount of your coins were consented over, so you should be back on your feet in a day or two, though they won't do much for the pain. I noticed that, I say, keeping my breath locked in Sliver Moon, a variation on Basic Tide designed to help with pain. You are welcome, a deep voice says from the far side of Anon. I pick out Tewo, his wrist wrapped in a splint similar to mine. Those coins served me well. This will take longer to heal without them. I don't miss the bitterness in his voice. Surprising because when I talked to him last night, he seemed unflappable. Totally cheerful about having lost his blankets to me in front of everyone, despite the difference in our vitality. Yemla taught that Pearlers value a peaceful disposition as highly as we value insight, and that always felt true on the Pearler ship. My shipmates didn't let much get them down. I guess winning 600-some coins off Tewo was enough to cloud his disposition. Enough chatter, Panewa says, turning from her countertop with a steaming carafe. Fresh infusions for all of you. I pass, though most of the fighters take it. Ujaism teaches us to keep a clear head at all times, and while I've let clove smoking slip into my habits, I resist here. Pain is a message from my body, and we were taught never to ignore it, uncomfortable as that may be. That, and I need to think through what happened in the arena, to figure out what went wrong. It's an old habit of mine to analyze fights even if I won, looking for weaknesses in my opponent and slips in my own performance, so I can do better next time. I'm proud of most of the fight. I treated the other fighters honorably, and though the kick I gave the knife thrower was a little wild, I'm relieved to see him bandaged and sleeping near the far wall with a heavy stack of coins around his neck. He'll be all right. The arena was dry, this whole city is dry, but I still made the most of my water sight with touch. I know it was what turned the fight against Tewo. Only, it didn't work with Isong. I keep circling back to his strange form, to the illegibility of his thoughts, and as I analyze the rest of the duels, I realize he has something I want, a fighting form that relies on contact. For all that we are seers who can read thoughts through touch, the temple forms assume a connection in water, and teach distance and the leveraging of weapons over close-quartered grappling and skin contact. Which is stupid, but nothing's keeping me from improving on what I was taught. My fights here are only going to get harder, not only because a lot of these fighters, like Safela and Tewo, are mad at me, but because my increased wealth is going to mean more people targeting me, trying to take advantage of me in the middle of the fight. And the fighters with more vitality who ignored me yesterday might start to think my 300 coins are worth bothering with today. I look down at the band of copper coins wrapped around my ankle, shimmering with vitality. Those are the only sure way I have of getting out of here. The last thing I want to do is lose them because I didn't adapt my methods to the fight. So I need to learn Isong's fighting style. Need to convince him to train me, or figure out how to read the cipher of his thoughts so I can read them and teach myself. Too bad he's probably furious at me, or going to insist I join Booker's system first. A rap comes at the door sometime later. I'm deep enough in Sliver Moon that I heard the footsteps approaching in the hall, noted their difference from the regular passage of the guards. I look over to see one of the knife-throwing brothers talking in low terms with Pinewa. She turns to me, holding up a crutch. I assume you can use one of these, Reggiana Joe? The sardonic way she says Reggiana confirms my suspicions she's a Theracant, despite her words. I nod and take it, still not sure what to do with the knowledge. Pinewa sighs. Then I guess you'd better follow Temlang here. I stay put. Where are we going? I ask the wiry man. Booker wants to see you, he says, scowling at the sleeping form of his brother, head bandaged from where I kicked him. Booker. My guts twist at the thought. I recenter my breathing, letting the fear flow around me. For what? Slop should I know. Booker's business. I glance at Pinewa and she gives a slight shrug. I don't trust her, but I don't know many healers who would send a patient into danger without at least a warning. Temlang leads me into the corridor, and I'm shocked to see there's no guard with him. I slow. Temlang, where are the guards? Can we go? Go where? He looks at me, and I notice the burst capillaries in his eyes. White Chot user. Oh, you want to escape? Be my guest. He gestures at the empty hallway. Ujay and Jaya, I want to try it. But I remember what I saw on the way down. There were guards at every intersection, with 30 times my coinage, and 2 working ankles to boot. No, I say lamely, just wondering. Slaps, I hate words. He leads me limping around the long curve of the hall to a set of stairs leading up. Despite everything I know about this place, my heartbeat still picks up. We're going upstairs? Maybe there will be a way out up there. We circle up to the announcer's booth. It's 5 times as wide as the cells below, and richly furnished, with cushions scattered across the floor and elegant glass water pipes drifting clove smoke. Silver trays of dates and cheeses sit on lacquered tables against the far wall, which is open to the arena below, save for a worked iron railing. There are no other exits. So much for an easy escape. Reggiana Joe, Booker says, reclining on a low divan before a water pipe and an ancha board. He's a small man, with a wispy excuse for a Daranese beard, but there is a certain glow to him, like the monks in the archive. Here is a man who loves what he does. You've recovered from your little spat with Isong, then? He sounds cheery, considering I nearly threw his entire plot for our fight. Outside, minstrels sing to the heavy beat of drums, which must be why Booker has time to talk to me. Ballad a silk pass, Booker says with a wave of his aged hand. Standard intermission. We run it every couple of days because they love it so much. Mostly for the dancers. Please, sit. He gestures at the divan across from him. I have no desire to do anything this man says, but my ankle is really starting to throb. I sit and rest my wounded leg across the gap on his chair. He glances at it, and I hear angry mutters from the other men in the room, the bull among them. Booker flicks his hand and they go quiet. I take a deep breath. I know Booker is a small fish, is nothing compared to Narimes or Miara, but this is a small pond, and I'm trapped in it. I need to walk a fine line here. Ancha, he says, gesturing at the hexagonal game board. Pieces carved of jade and ivory. You play? Not in years. Pity. They say it survived the last deluge, you know. Our ancestors carried it across on one of their boats. Humor me? Sure. Why not? I don't really care about trying to learn something about the pre-Diluvian civilization from a cryptic board game, which is why I would never make a good theologian. But maybe I can learn something about this man from how he plays. He opens with the Moon Rider, a piece of middling power, usually reserved for later in the game. I answer it with one of the hermits, a standard defensive opening. Booker clucks. Hermit, eh? Outside, the crowd cheers for something. Never seen much use for the weaker characters. Obviously, I almost say, thinking of Anon, but I know he's just testing me. I take a deep breath and return to the game. Move my oak widow to block his rider. The oak, he says, hand absently stroking his opposite forearm, where I notice a circular bulge under the skin, about the shape of a coin. Good in the right circumstances, he says. Not so much in this one. Why do you do this, I ask. I have the patience to wait him out. My breath is still steady in Sliver Moon, but I don't really feel like it. Of all the strategies I see for getting out of here, going through Booker is the least likely of them. So I'm not going to wade through his loaded comments on the game, sifting them for whatever it is he's planning on doing. That's just playing into his own need for attention and control. Do what? Play Ancha? Stay here. Write these scripts. Sit around in a luxurious prison when you could be free. Because there's no question Booker has enough to buy his way free. He probably makes close to that number every couple days, if my estimations are at all accurate. Free? He asks, stroking the bulge in his forearm again. What does that mean? I mean out there, sailing the sea, climbing the mountains, breathing the fresh air instead of sleeping in a foul tower and eating gruel every morning. Keeps me honest, he says, glancing up with a twinkle in his eye. He moves his rider into position to take my widow. That's slop. More angry mutters from the men in the room. Booker ignores them. You're right, it is. But so is the idea of freedom. You get out there, you just have to find a different way to make money. Follow a different set of rules, but you're no more free. Just in a different kind of prison. Out there, you can leave. Not everywhere is like Duran. Go to the jungles if you want, or go start a farm somewhere. There's plenty of room in this world for people who don't want other people's rules. Ah, but there's still the rules of your belly, the needs of an old back like mine for a comfortable place to sleep. And even if you figure those out, he kills my widow and advances on the Scarlet Throne. You're still gonna get lonely. And as soon as other people are in the picture, well, you might as well be here. Our need for society is our prison, Reggiana Joe. You, of all people, should know that. I move the throne, opening up a second-order Hierophant to threaten his rider. What do you mean? I watched you out there today. I like to watch all our new arrivals, see what I have to work with. You were doing great. Could have taken Isong and Hegdong, especially after you got rid of Kemlong Joe with that kick. Temlong scowls at the mention of his brother. But you didn't. You had to save Anon instead. Gave up the high ground for a hermit. You let Isong recover. He slides his rider leftward, opening a path for his Ash Widow. I block it. Anon doesn't deserve what you're doing to him. And it's your job to balance that out? That's a prison much worse than loneliness. That's a prison of morals. And if you think you're gonna get out of here without escaping that prison first, he slides his apostle free instead of the widow, and turns my Hierophant to his side, flipping the piece to its jade side. You're gonna have a long fight indeed. I kill his apostle, pushing my hermit into it, though I know it's not the wisest move. My ankle throbs and my throat aches for a pull of cloveleaf I'm too proud to take, and the last thing I want to do right now is listen to some small-time gaoler lecture me about morality. What then? I should come work for you because the 9/10 of half of the tips Booker system is the best prison around? He chuckles. No, not at all. The crowd loved you today. They love an upstart. It's the one thing I can't write, not convincingly. You'll probably make me more money if you don't fall in line. You'll just end up dead is all. And think what you will of me, I never waste a good piece if I don't have to. He punctuates this with my turned Hierophant, putting it in position to take my throne. Well, for better or worse, this piece needs more than you're offering to start following the script. He pulls on the pipe mouthpiece, eyes on the board. How much? I haven't actually asked myself this, but I know he's going to say no, so I pick a number. 1,000 ravas. 1,000 ravas a day, and I'll play whatever game you want. He doesn't flinch, though I hear a splutter from one of the attendants. Booker offers me the mouthpiece again. Before owner's cut? Jay, but a little clove leaf would take the edge off my ankle. I wave it away. After. Too much. I can offer you 300 before cut, but it would mean at least 3 fights a day. I gesture at my ankle. I made more than that today after cut, from 1 fight. Today, he agrees amicably. Talk to me tomorrow. No, I say, standing. I don't think I will. Thanks for the game. He looks up, and for the first time I see something like consternation on his face. But we're not done. That's what's going to bother him? Fine. If that's the only way I can twist a heel in this man's guts for what he's doing to an entire tower of prisoners, I'll take it. I am. Well, I'm not, the bull growls, pushing off the wall, vitality bending the air around him. You still owe me a pity coin. Really? I ask. You've got all that vitality and you're worried about a copper 11 mark? 2 now, he says, barging right up to me. Interest. This close, I feel like I should be sweating from the power that ripples off his coins, like heat from live coals. Instead, there's only the sour stink of his body. Fine, I snap, bending to pull coins from my ankle. You need 2 coppers? Let me give you 3. Call it a down payment on a pity coin the next time you feel like killing some helpless kid out there who doesn't have a rava to his name. Next time, he says, taking the coins from my hand, it'll be you. I doubt it, I say, standing up straight, though I'm glaring more at his sternum than face. Good day, fellows. Reggiana Joe, Booker calls, or whatever your name is. Have a care. I take care of all my pieces, but only if they're playing my game. You can still come back and finish this. He gestures at the board. I should make some witty comeback here about prisons and playing games with old men, but the words don't come, so I just walk out. I will find the cracks in this prison and use them to escape, but I don't think Booker is one of them. "11. I spend the rest of the day in the infirmary, Pnewa clucking at my 3 missing coins. I swear I can feel their absence. That, or my ankle has to hurt worse before it gets better. I still need a crutch when the guards come to escort us back upstairs, but I'm doing better than Anon and a couple of the other fighters from later matches. Isong is waiting at the entrance to the lift as we approach, 2 of us on stretchers. He barely glances at me before starting in on the guards about letting the others keep their coins overnight to speed healing. I only half listen, still searching the corridors and the guards for any weakness I can use to escape. There are none. I sigh. Hanan would likely know if there were. Isong doesn't get very far with the guards, different men than the ones he convinced to let Anon keep his coins yesterday. He looks truly chagrined that the other wounded have to hand their coins back. His face changes to a scowl when I go to join him on the lift, though, and he waves for Safela to push the stretcher on, filling the lift. I take the next one, with Tewo and Safela and the knife thrower I fought, Kemlong. We are heavier than whatever they're sending down to balance us out, so we haul on the handholds built into the brick wall, even Tewo helping, though he can only work one-handed. I get the feeling none of these people like me. I'm the reason they're wounded, after all, but it's nice to share work with them all the same. If I was better at words, I would explain that it was nothing personal, but I'm not, so I keep quiet. It's dark by the time we step out into the gale, the dank lower hallway lit with a single lamp. I square my shoulders and head upstairs. It's been a long day, but I'm not done. Isong's probably mad at me for how I fought today, or disappointed, but I need to convince him to teach me anyway. Not only because these coins make me a target, but I'm guessing Booker is going to put me in a fight tomorrow whether I'm healed or not, like he did with Anon. I need every advantage I can get, if I'm not going to lose what I've gained. That reminds me of Hyana. I round the stairs to the barracks level, remembering how she said Booker was going to make me fight every day. Will she pull me out if it gets too dangerous? Is that something I can count on? I feel a twinge of disappointment that she didn't come to see me after today's fight. I was hoping to work on her, to get more information on Saga or the Chronicles, but more so hoping that the way that I fought, the number of coins I won, would make her realize I don't need her to get out, that maybe she should start compromising on what she's asking for. I get to the barracks and step in, but Isong's not there, just Anon, pulling lazily at a clove. "You were awesome today," he says, exhaling and handing me the stick. I want a clear head, but I know Panewa's tincture is going to wear off sooner rather than later, so I take a long pull and thank him. For all the good it did. Everyone I fought is mad at me, and 30 coins is a long way from 500. Anon shrugs. It's closer. And you actually know how to fight, so the more vital you get, the better that'll make you against everyone else. Try only being good at stealing things. See how far that gets you in the ring. It's tempting to just stay there with him. I feel a bond with Anon. We're completely different people, but he's someone who refuses to compromise too, who would literally rather die than give in to Booker's system. Ujay send I never have to make that choice. The upper chamber looks different in the night. Duran's lights twinkle out the lattice of holes in the dome, and cheap tallow candles illuminate pockets of gladiators, talking in low tones around games of ancha and flipjack. The air smells of charcoal and the sea. I find Isong sitting against the curving wall, alone. "Mind if I sit?" "Reggiana," he says, eyes on the far wall. It's not a yes, but I sit anyway. The metal is warm against my back, though the breeze through the openings is cool. "Hell of a fight out there today," I say, not sure how to start this conversation. For the 100th time, I wish I was Deshawn or Gaxno or anyone who knows how to use words. "You made it that way," he says, turning something in his hand. "So did you. Those moves you used on me, I've never seen anything like it." "Another Deul's secret," he says, laughing without mirth. "For all the good it does us." A flicker of lamplight from the circle of men next to us catches his hand, illuminating a sliver of chotnut he's rolling between his fingers. Not the leaf that heightens your senses, but the seed that dulls you into delirium. And a solid chunk of it, too. I don't know what things cost up here, but I'm guessing that took everything he made today. It seems like you could do a lot of good with that kind of skill. Why do you hold back? I don't want to have this conversation right now. I know the answer to my question anyway. It's all the things he's been telling me since I came. That fighting only makes you a target. That no one gets out, they just die trying. That it's better and safer to stay here inside Booker's system. But that style is so unexpected, so effective. I can't keep the admiration from my voice, one fighter to another. Had a little vitality and you'd be unstoppable. I thought that once, he says to the far wall. I wasn't always like this, you know. He looks at me as if daring me to name what he is. Broken, given up, a good man wasting his life. I stay quiet. When I first came in, I fought my hardest, he says, proud features soft in the distant lamplight. Every day. Started making some decent coins, and then they started stacking fights against me. 3-on-1, 5-on-1, 10-on-1. The crowd loved it. I loved it. I got most of the way to my walk price. He shrugs. Until the fight I couldn't win. The crowd loved that too, and I got this. He gestures to the side he limps on, then goes back to rolling his chot. No one's unstoppable. The sooner you learn that, the better. I shiver at the difference between this man and the passionate one I saw at the bottom of the lift shaft, arguing for the coins to help the wounded fighters heal. I want to ask him about training me, and burning to, but even I can see this is not the right time. Right, well, I stand up. You want to be alone? Doesn't matter, he says, eyes back to the far wall. I don't need water sight to read that. I go. 12. As expected, they schedule me for a fight bright and early the next day. I catch Booker's gaze from the announcer's booth, watching me hobble out on my crutch. "I take care of all my pieces," I can hear him saying, "but only if they play my game." To hell with his game. That's all this is anyway.